Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live right here on Think Critical YouTube. Everybody's favorite morning conversation, at least about comic books, is here. We're live. We're one man down. Aaron Sparrow did send me a message saying that he would be here soon, but he hasn't quite made it. And we got a fantastic panel. Weird Science Jim returning to the channel. Yes! Now, Weird Science Jim, you've got some construction going on. So we might have a little bit of audio issues, correct?
Yeah, correct. But not yet. They haven't arrived. So, but it's my kids, so there's no schedule. So it could happen. It may not. I don't know.
Any second, the house could blow up.
That is. I'm waiting for that. That would actually be a plus. I think that everybody involved wants that.
Jim is living in a house that literally has holes in the floor, and decided to chance his luck by actually drinking a couple of beers. He's such a lightweight. He got drunk. He didn't actually fall down the hole and die.
Nope, I didn't. I didn't fall down the hole. I'm fine, and I didn't get hungover from my 1.5 beers. I was surprised. I was pretty drunk, and I realized, I haven't drank in 20-some years, and that's I guess that's good, but it wasn't good when I decided to drink in a house that's completely torn apart at the moment.
Yeah, there's probably exposed nails. You could get tetanus.
Oh yeah, there is. There's a lot of that, and it's an old house, so everything that's exposed is pretty old. But they're getting there. Yeah, the worst though is down here in my basement where they built me this crazy coffin that I record in, and the bathroom was ripped out. So we have a porta-john in the backyard. But the problem is that for some reason he decided to put it at the very back of the yard. You have to sprint the whole yard. You have to run, and there's so many things in the yard. You do like an obstacle course to get there, and it's trouble.
Man, running and holding cheeks is
it's not
laughing
fun.
matter.
No, it isn't, and it's no laughing matter. As I'm going, I'm sure that the neighbors wonder why they hear this guy yelling and cursing at somebody as he's running, because it's tough.
Very nice. So you didn't almost die this week, which was the good news.
No,
just almost shit himself.
About 100 times, and that's it's the worst. And just the whole play of that, though. I always try to go to the regular bathroom too, forgetting that it's not there. So it adds that extra bit of mystery.
You're going upstairs and you realize halfway.
I go 3 flights of stairs, and then I'm like,
"Oh, the mystery stench,"
and I run down. So. Yeah.
This corner I've been using.
Yep. Yeah, and I didn't die, but last night for some reason I did a live stream. We do a live stream of the Absolute book, so we only had one book, me and Gray, and we started the stream, and then Gray had to leave after we're done, and we usually sit around and chat with people and things like that. And he left to go to Taekwondo for an hour. When he came back, I was still streaming, and ended up it was a 4.5-hour stream of me just telling stupid stories. I don't know what I was doing.
What about stream about Absolute Batman?
Yep, 4.5 hours. The Absolute Batman was about 40 minutes, and then the rest just what it was.
Random nonsense.
Random nonsense. Talking hockey stories. I was arguing with people. That was kind of the deal. I felt like I was drunk though then, but I was not. I was just lonely, I think.
Dylan, can you explain to Jim how long you're supposed to stream about a comic book?
I think he did the right amount, 40 minutes, and then he did whatever he wanted.
Exactly, that was the problem. I had it down okay, and then just kept going, and people kept asking questions and stuff, and not a lot of comic talk. There was a lot of there was some grunge talk, hockey, band stuff. It ended up telling stories about different things. It was pretty crazy.
Well, very nice. I'm glad you guys had a good time. Sometimes these streams do get they go off the rails and they never come back.
Yes, that is true.
That's what makes them fun.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's a good time. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that one, Jim. So you and I actually read Fire and Ice, Hell Freezes Over this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was a logical choice for the worst of the week with Doc, but not even me wanted to subject Doc to actually having to read that crap like you and I had to. That thing was bad.
It was bad. I did say one of the things I talked about during the stream is the idea of having to read these books. And I said that when you're done, later on, it's kind of a badge of honor where you say, I actually read and reviewed all of Tim Drake Robin. And then you realize you wasted a lot of your life, but you end up kind of being like a weird way. You're proud of that weird fact. But Fire and Ice, it was what we thought it was. It's like, Dennis Green. You have to cue that because we knew what it was going to be, and it didn't fail to meet those standards. It was pretty bad.
The only person I know that possibly even gave it a pass was Sully.
Yeah. So
do not bring me into this. I didn't read it.
You read Jeff the Land Shark, but you wouldn't read Fire and Ice.
A man's got to have standards, you know.
He read Jeff the Land Shark and didn't read Hush too.
Well, you know what
I mean? I mean, everything's up in the air. Then you don't know what the guy's dealing with.
But I didn't want to subject that to Doc, so Doc and I ended up having it was supposed to be a conversation, but it ended up being a heated debate about who's more powerful, the X-Men or the Avengers.
We all
shockingly, Doc is emotionally invested in that fucking argument.
Yes, I would like to hear what Doc would have said about Fire and Ice, though. I think he just would have I don't know. I don't even know what you would have said, Doc. It's that bad, but there's nothing to grab onto about even discussing. Kind of, it's just bad.
I kind of probably would have just grunted.
The only other option was Amazing Spider-Man #1, which isn't the worst of the week, but would have been a worthy review. But Jim and I went like 25 minutes on that comic book, and our review was so good. I was like, I can't do this with somebody else. We already did it perfect.
That's right. You hit perfection.
Absolutely. That was a good one, Jim.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have any dirty songs or videos people need to know about? Obviously, there's a 4.5-hour live stream that people can get the replay on that turned out to be amazing.
I do have a solo review, just a recorded review of The Amazing Spider-Man. Also did one of Daredevil this week that I did like. Planning on doing some more videos and stuff like that. And always dirty songs.
Absolutely. We've also got Dylan returning to the channel, the world's youngest Superman and Star Wars fan. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing good, man.
Is there anything that you would like to explain to Jim?
No, not at the moment. You know, can't force these things. Got to come naturally.
We'll talk about Batman and Robin later.
Dude, Dylan, DC had a freaking really good week. This is probably the best week of the year so far for them.
It's a great week for Batman fans, generally. Yes. Like, this was like just 3 Batman books that hit. Like, that was the Dark Patterns. This was the best issue of Dark Patterns. I've been enjoying Dark Patterns a lot, but this last issue, oh my goodness, that was amazing.
Can you please explain to Jim why Dark Patterns is good? He tried to tell me it was bad.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. And I'm worried again because of the 3-issue story deal, how he does it. And I thought that Wound Man really fell flat at the end. So I'm just worried. I don't really love it. No, I don't like it.
Wow, I'm really enjoying it. I thought that whole bit with the Batman 66 bit on the side of the building, and then him going up, and we have like about 3 or 4 pages in a row where it's just like, it hits, and that artist is so much better on Batman than he was on Wonder Woman. I was not the biggest fan of him on Wonder Woman, but for this Batman story, he's killing it. And I thought that ending was interesting. I'm liking Dark Patterns a lot.
I agree with the art. The art, his art suits it a lot better.
Yeah, but then you also have Aquaman. So yeah, DC had some really good stuff to put out this week.
Yeah,
it was a little small week. What do you think about the new artist on Absolute Batman though? This new fill-in. I think it's a better fill-in artist. But it looks way too much like a horror anthology book from Image Comics rather than a Batman book. That's my problem.
I agree. And it's one of those things where when I go to read my comics and I see, it's a fill-in artist, Absolute Batman then got pushed to the back of what I was going to read. Because I was like, I can read this a little later. I still enjoyed the issue, but yeah, it doesn't really fit. There's that one panel where Bruce doesn't have, his eyeballs don't exist, and he has the fattest chin of all time. And it's just, Absolute Batman's selling real well. I don't know why we can't get like a really, really good fill-in artist. Like, speaking of Batman Robin, we've got like the artists that switch off on there are great. We got, it's like Mendoza and like Fernandez. I think those are the 2 dudes that switch off with each other, and they're both great, and their styles like are very similar. And so when one's gone, you don't really miss the other because they're both so good. During this, like when you get the other artists, it's like, it's just not, it's a clear step down.
I prefer Miguel Mendonca's art to Javi Fernandez, but I think they're definitely complementary.
Yeah, I agree. I've liked them a lot since World Saga, but yeah,
he did great there.
And that's Batman and Robin, where Absolute Batman is like the biggest book at DC right now. You think they could afford to get a bigger artist to fill in when Dragota's not on?
With the style that complements Dragota, because Nick Dragota really makes it work. But then when you see like the that Gabriel Hernandez guy, that was bad, and then this one not as bad. Where you're like, this doesn't feel as big enough.
Yeah, and neither of them feel like action artists really, which is what this book is. Like it's just like a fun action book, and neither of these guys really that we've had so far seem to excel at drawing action, at least to me.
Man, so we've got the UFC coming up this weekend. Why did the UFC wait until the Pitbull brothers were like almost 40 to sign them? I don't get it.
I don't know how all that all went. I think it probably had something to do with when Bellator went under and then the PFL like acquired part of it. So I'm assuming it has something to do with contracts and that's why. But yeah, we've got some Bellator fighters now. I can't remember. We got Pico. Aaron Pico joined also, who's like a big guy at Bellator. I remember hearing about him like 6 years ago, being like, oh,
they signed him before his first fight because he was a Gold Glove boxer, but he was also like a Olympic medal candidate for USA Wrestling. They gave him enough money for him to stop that and just go full-time MMA. He's supposed to be the best prospect ever, but he hasn't quite turned out that good. But he's good.
Yeah, I've watched some of him at Bellator, but now he's at the UFC, so we'll see what he can do. But this card, we actually have a decent card for once, which it's
at least Pico's like 25 instead of like 40.
Yeah, it's not too late. Unlike Michael Chandler who came in at like 36, but he's fighting this weekend. He's fighting Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's first real test, other than the fact that he lost to Jared Gordon already, in my opinion. But judges gave him that one.
I think Chandler will knock the shit out of him.
I think so too. I think it's going to be rough. His only chance is to survive and do something late, because early rounds he has no chance against Chandler, unless, at least I don't think so.
Exactly. But you got anything going on the Real Comic Book Gamer? Obviously, you got your own YouTube channel, you got your own podcast. I think you're doing streaming on Twitch as well still.
Yeah. I did a video on Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, and I also just did a video just talking generally the state of Captain America right now and how he's doing, how we got that upcoming Chip Zdarsky book. Are
you excited for that?
I am excited for that. Even though his Batman run was straight ass, I'm excited because I've liked what he did with Invaders, how he wrote Cap in that. I think he's got a good voice for Cap, so I'm optimistic, and I like that we got a good artist on the book, because the artist on the Jesus, I can't remember his last name.
Jesus Saez.
Not a good fit. Yeah, not a good fit. The fill-in artist guy was much better. The guy that came in like issue 4, 5, and 6 was much better. And so I'm happy we've got like more of a premier artist on this one. We got the Avengers artist, so I think that's pretty cool, and I hope it's good, because Captain America, it's so weird that Captain America, the height of this popularity, they never capitalized. It makes no sense. It's so weird.
I think the Iron Man thing's weirder.
Yeah.
They actually made him worse.
Iron Man's weirder, but the thing with Iron Man is I never really cared about Iron Man, to where I'm a big fan of Captain America. So, yeah.
Because he's so similar to Superman.
Yeah.
At least in his ideals and beliefs and what he stands for. Yeah, I got you on that one. Did you like Zdarsky's voice for Cap in the Avengers Twilight?
I haven't read Twilight. I've heard it's really good, but I haven't read it.
It's good.
I'll explain it to you, Dylan.
All right.
Explain.
And speaking of which, just to set, Invaders by Chip Zdarsky was great. That really good. Nobody ever talks about it. It was awesome. And then it kind of ended kind of weird because they kind of canceled it, but it was good.
Yeah, it was really good. And I love the way he wrote Cap in that. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, he would probably do a really good Captain America. And then that was a while ago, but hopefully he still got it. And this first arc's going to be his first encounter with Dr. Doom when he first gets unthawed. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, I was always wanting Chip Zdarsky to write the Fantastic Four because they hadn't really featured him much. And he'd done that 2-in-1 book, but then they gave it to Slott.
Mm-hmm.
And he never went back to it.
That 2-in-1 book was pretty good too.
Now Slott's going to be on Superman. I see that just promoted everywhere. Promoting Summer of Superman everywhere. I just see Dan Slott's fat name right there. It's just
not even his face is fat anymore. They use a fat fucking font.
They just put just a photo of fat, like just like the bags of it from the plastic surgery,
like in Fight Club.
So yeah, the ones, the bags of just vacuumed out fat from liposuction. I
love that scene in Fight Club where they get it caught on like the nail and it's all like going down and Brad Pitt's like trying to catch it.
It's So we're just seeing them promote that like they have something big. It's like everyone knows Slott's not good. Why? It's like when they threatened you with Bendis is coming. It's like this is clearly a threat, not something to celebrate or look forward to. And it feels the same way with Slott.
Yeah, Marvel should start having to take DC's failures if we're going to keep doing these trades. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they should get Tom King. Let's give
Joanne Starer, send her over. Jadzia Axelrod, send her over to Marvel Comics because it's not working. But it does feel like DC loves to take Marvel's just spent leftovers at this point, Dylan.
Yeah. At least with Bendis, he was a name at one point that people liked. Slott has never been anywhere close to that. So I don't understand the admiration that DC has for Slott. I don't get that at all.
There was like 10 people that were super duper like invested in his Silver Surfer and She-Hulk runs, and they would scream about it constantly on Twitter and on message boards. But outside of those 10 people, there is no fans of Dan Slott. I think those all might have been Dan Slott, actually, now that I think back on it.
Yeah, now Marvel's even pawned off Al Ewing on DC.
Dude, what was the art on that Absolute Green Lantern #1? Just seeing the previews, this looks like online fan art. It looked like a web comic. It looked awful. How is that? How are you paying $5 for that? How do you justify that?
And nothing happens.
So you weren't a fan of that Green Lantern either?
No, I didn't read it. I just saw pages and I was like, this looks terrible. And I don't like Al Ewing. I haven't read anything of his I've enjoyed, so I didn't check it out. And even the art was bad. I thought the book looked terrible. So this is for a $5 book.
You didn't like Immortal Thor? Or I'm sorry, Immortal Hulk?
I didn't read Immortal Hulk.
It's pretty good.
Just read issue 25.
Yeah, up to issue about 23 or 24. And then you jump off. It's actually the best thing I've ever read that he's done. But for the most part, he never really delivers. Do we have somebody? What are you creeping on us, Sparrow?
No, I had the unfortunate experience of, all right, let's get ready for Aficionados. And my computer's going to update. All right. Okay.
Oh, that's the worst, dude.
It
didn't even ask you. It just said, screw you, dude. You said no too many times.
Yeah, it was like, no, we're doing this. And it's like, oh, damn it. It's going to be 20 minutes. How's everybody doing?
We're all doing great. Jim's still alive. We're very happy about that.
Wicked pisser.
Hi.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hey. Oh, great.
Always glad to hear you're still alive.
Yes, it's the surprise of the week.
So, Sparrow, I think you, along with myself and a couple other people, were disappointed in the very first silent issue from Phil Hester on Beachhead, which had a perfectly fine story, but it needed dialogue and sound effects because I don't think he really captured the essence of a silent issue. This week's Jinx kind of does it.
Yeah, it kind of does it. I mean, the art is really good. I really liked it. I liked Phil Hester's art too. It was very pretty to look at. It's just I couldn't tell what was going on. Whereas Jinx, I think, flows better than the Beachhead issue. So I liked it. But I will say, I don't think that any of the silent issues so far, any of these new ones, have come close. Like they're not even. You can't even dust. What's the line from the Batman animated series? They're not even worthy of dusting off Larry Hama's spats.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of the greatest comic issues of all time.
Yeah, it's a tough act to follow, and so it's probably an unfair comparison. But I thought this one was a lot closer, and I kind of dug it. I will say this though, I think the only two silent comics I've really seen nail it are, of course, that first G.I. Joe 21 and Ricardo Delgado's Age of Reptiles from Dark Horse. Those are the only times I've ever seen books with no dialogue really tell the story through just the art.
There's a really good issue of Ninja K from Matt Kint back when he was on Valiant, where Ninja K has to like fight through like this entire army of ninjas to make it to the woman he used to date. That's I think her name is Roku. That's going to be like that's trying to stop him or whatever. And when he finally gets there, she says, "You're here," and that's the only words of dialogue. But that's the second best silent issue I've ever read. Shockingly, they both involve ninjas.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's Matt Kint, so he's pretty reliable.
There was a couple of the Nuff Said month issues from late 2001, that were kind of in like silent issues in Memorial 9/11 that were pretty well done.
There's a really good Batman and Robin after Damian died in the New 52. That was really good too.
There's that. I know you're not a big fan of Fractions Hawkeye, but there's that silent issue from like the dog's perspective.
Yeah, the pizza
where,
dog.
You can't understand. Yeah, I like that issue. Yeah. There's like Hawkeye 11. I remember that one being pretty good.
The worst silent issue I've ever, I wouldn't say read because it wasn't even a story. It was that Declan Shalvey's Alien Annual.
That was so bad.
It might be the worst comic book I've ever seen in my life.
I actually like when they end up having an issue come out and they're like, hey, this is an almost silent issue. Like that kind of explains like everything, doesn't it? Like, it drives me nuts. But that Declan Shalvey one was garbage. It was so bad.
When I read Declan Shalvey's Thundercats, I wished it was a silent issue.
When I read Tim Seeley's Bloodshot, I wish it was a silent issue.
Yeah, because Brett Booth knows how to tell a story. So, Dylan, did you check out the Jinx silent issue? Or not? Because you haven't been reading Real American Hero.
I haven't been reading Real American Hero, but I have been reading the silent issues. I read Beachhead and I read this one. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good. I liked it.
I thought it was really good too. I didn't like the Beachhead because they were clearly talking. He was talking to the kids and giving them instructions, and there needed to be sound effects because there was stuff crashing and everything. But the art was good.
Yeah, I still enjoyed Beachhead. I think Jinx was better, but I still had fun with Beachhead.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I feel like Beachhead doesn't get a whole lot of love, so it's cool seeing Beachhead have his own issue. But yeah, there was clearly some stuff missing with that, and a silent issue is just fun. It's hard to mess up.
Well, Jinx is a ninja, so it's like she's a lot more quiet than Beachhead in a way. But I do contend that there are sounds in the background. Even going back to G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 21, there's a scene right after Storm Shadow unveils, Scarlet. He just rips off the hood with one swoop, and you can see that hooded Cobra Commander is ordering her to the dungeon. So there's definitely sounds going on. There's definitely some I presumed there was dialogue there that you just don't have to show.
Yeah, but you needed the dialogue in the Beachhead story for it to make sense, is my point.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. Whereas, in the frame you're talking about, Cobra Commander is like pointing dramatically, and you realize, he's saying like, get her, send her away. Like it's all very evident in the body language.
Yes.
And I think that's because Larry actually did the breakdowns himself. So you were able, he was able to communicate every single thing that he wanted to, and he wasn't depending on an artist to interpret his script and deliver it. Although with Phil Hester, that's what he was doing, is he was doing his own art for his own story. But yeah, it just didn't come across as well. Dylan, speaking of Beachhead, did you ever read G.I. Joe Special Missions #2 from Marvel?
Let me see.
I think it was #2. It was #2 or #1. It's basically, I think if I recall the team, it's Flint, Lady J, and Beachhead. And there's a hijacked plane on the tarmac, and they have to infiltrate the plane while it's refueling and before it takes off.
No, I don't think I've read it.
You should read it. You will love it, especially if you like Beachhead.
All right, cool. Yeah, because the like when I first got into G.I. Joe, it was like those two like pretty bad, but I liked when I was a kid, like CGI G.I. Joe movies that came out in the early 2000s. It was like Spy Troops and Valor vs. Venom. And I remember Beachhead showing up in those and being like, this guy's pretty cool. And then like he doesn't have a whole lot to do outside of that. But yeah.
That's how I always felt about Flash, the laser rifle trooper. He looks pretty cool, and like they never did anything cool with him.
Or Grand Slam. Aaron.
No, Grand Slam beats the shit out of Major Blood on that bus. He comes swinging through the front window, and then you got the great moment where they're wheeling Major Blood into the hospital, and Stalker is chewing Grand Slam out, and he's like, that man's got to answer some questions, and if his jaw is broken, and he's like, Stalker, I only hit him like once or twice, 3 or 4 times maybe. I mean, half a dozen times tops.
Now, Aaron, you are the G.I. Joe guru of this room. You surpass my knowledge, and I'm pretty good at this, the old classic stuff. But who was Jinx fighting at the big bad on the roof? Was that a
Night Creepers?
That's a Night Creeper. That was a Night Creeper. Okay, I was like, that's what I thought.
I don't know if it was the Night Creeper leader, which is typically a guy named Aleph, but yeah, it was definitely a Night Creeper.
As I was looking up action figure wikis, because these things are really toyetic. They are very spot on to the property and the toys. So, I appreciate that.
Speaking of G.I. Joe, this week, watching on Blockbuster Video with my two oldest boys. They watch G.I. Joe. Is it Revolution?
Resolute.
Yeah,
Resolute's good. I got the DVD for that.
That's the Warren Ellis one, right?
Yes.
Oh,
and they were like,
cool.
We want to watch more G.I. Joe. So we ended up putting on G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra.
Oh, well, you cured them needing to watch more G.I. Joe.
Yeah, no, you don't put that on.
I hadn't seen the movie since watching it in theater. I was like, I remember it being really stupid. The kids might like it. And everything about it's bad, Aaron. But what is worse? The depiction of Cobra Commander or Snake Eyes having lips in his ninja mask.
Oh, it's Snake Eyes. It's Snake Eyes by far. Because at least as bad as it is, as bad as Cobra Commander is, at least Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going for it. Like, he is being sinister, and he is, you're like, okay, if this were just some other character, I could probably be down with this. But yeah, no, it's the lips on Snake Eyes are inexcusable. And that whole movie is what we talk about all the time about somebody coming in. Like, I reference Caravan of Garbage every now and then. And there's an episode where they're talking about Batman v Superman. And they're complaining about the look of Doomsday. And then Mason just goes on this tear where he's like, do you think Hollywood, designers, that you can design a better Doomsday than comic book legend Dan Jurgens? Do you think that? Because you can't. And they're just like, yeah, he's just like some big toothy tadpole, and I hate it. And that's the whole G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra movie, is some designer coming in and going, oh, finally, I can put my mark on something. And it is just the most bland,
just got to say,
boring,
Sienna Miller is the Baroness, though. She really pulls that movie together for me.
She looks like the Baroness, but her story is not the Baroness. They do the stupid thing where every character has to know each other from beforehand. And tie everything together. She's blonde at the beginning, but when she becomes the Baroness, she of course has the dark hair, and it's like she doesn't have an East European accent. Like everything about it.
She's too young.
Yeah, Storm Shadow's kind of cool. Like I like the actor that plays Storm Shadow, even though he's not Japanese. But there's some.
Why would Snake Eyes have a rubber ninja suit?
Why would he have lips on it?
Rubber ninja suit.
Sometimes the lips are parted. Like, it's like, does he put on a different mask? Like, he's like, oh, yeah, I really got to express. Hang on. There we go.
Rubber ninja suit? I barely know her. But
the second movie, you get a better Cobra Commander, and you get a better Snake Eyes. Unfortunately, you get Flint, and he's a plank of wood. And you got to deal with Roadblock being the leader of the team because The Rock signed on.
Yeah.
A Firefly that keeps taking his mask off, but it's Ray Stevenson. So you're like, all right, I'll deal with it.
I'll allow this.
You know what doesn't get enough love? It's called G.I. Joe Renegades, and I think it only had one season, and it was like G.I. Joe meets the A-Team. So they like Cobra has framed this team of Joes, and they go from town to town in a van. It's like Roadblock, Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and it was like, wow, this is really fun. And
my big problem with that show is the art style was so boring on that.
Ugly as hell.
It was terrible. I couldn't get into it.
The story elevated that for me because it was fun. It had all the right Easter eggs. Like I love the snake armor. I love like what happened to Destro and Baroness at the end of it. It was really cool.
It looked like most comics we get today, Dylan. It looks like that art style is like kind of what they put out. I do want to address in the chat. Gilmer Eric Smith said Christopher Eccleston on his American tour of making movies he hated. Yeah, there's a moment in that movie that makes me laugh out loud every time I go back and watch it just because I want to torture myself. Where he gets the nanite, like the stupid nanite mask, so that they make him sort of look like the comic book Destro, and he goes, "Oh, finally taking my place among the other Destros." It's just like you could tell he does not want to be there at all.
Was there a cartoon Resolute that leads into that movie or continues out? Because they loved that anime style. Like the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow fight especially was like their cup of tea.
It's so good. Him stopping the sword with his hand and then breaking it. Oh my goodness. It's so sick.
I actually yelled. I was like, whoa! And
the sound effect when it goes through, it's so like, it's so visceral.
Poor Bazooka, though, guys. Pour one out in the chat for Bazooka in G.I. Joe Resolute.
No, Resolute was initially it was a web series.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's like released like
And
6 parts or something.
yeah, and then they basically stuck it all together to make it a movie.
Oh, because that would have been a great cartoon, and it really it had their interest.
Well,
Even though like
Warren,
the weird, bigger, fatter Destro that looked more like a monster than a guy with a metal head.
yeah,
That worked.
I think Warren Ellis was he wrote that movie, and I think there was the possibility that he might do more, but then I think that's around the time he went to
Netflix.
he went to Netflix and did the and got on Castlevania.
Castlevania.
Yeah, I think I remember when I remember seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff, and they said, well, we went to Warren Ellis. We were like, who's big in comics? Who do we think can really pull this off? And everybody agreed on Warren Ellis. And we went to him and we said, we'd really like you to do like some G.I. Joe. And he said, I mean, that sounds great, but I don't know anything about G.I. Joe. It's never really been in my wheelhouse. I've never paid any attention to it. And they said, no, that's part of the reason that we want you, is we want you to kind of like come with no baggage, look at what we've got and do something kind of different. And so that's what they did. And it was kind of like a thank you to the G.I. Joe fans. And the toy line was doing pretty well at that time. So they put it out, and they got a massive response to it. And I'm surprised that they never followed up on it and did anything else, because that's the series I think that everybody wants to see.
Oh yeah, my 9-year-old and 5-year-old, that's what they want to see. They were like, where's the cartoon? I was like, I'm sorry, guys.
Show them the Mouse Device episodes. I mean, those are simple. Those are literally made for kids that age.
I just watched some of those the other night. I was like, oh man, they're on the Plex server.
The action figures, they got Snake Eyes with glowing hands. Glowing Snake Eyes, radioactive Snake Eyes from that episode too.
Yeah, they're coming out with a figure with him and the polar bear now, with like the Mass Device crystals and packed with the big polar bear.
That's pretty fun,
Snake Eyes definitely in my top 5, top 10
action figures.
Just characters of all time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I had Snake Eyes was the one action figure I didn't have. I was a Generation 1 Real American Hero fan. I was like 9 years old when that came out. And so I had Stalker, I had Scarlet, I had the Wolverine, I had the Sky Striker, and I had the Rattler, because I was an only child and I was spoiled. Dude. Yeah.
I don't think if you're not into G.I. Joe and you didn't read a Real American Hero, I don't think that you understand like how they're not just good G.I. Joe stories. They're just good stories in general. Like they engage you. Like there's so many great moments, like, Ripcord. And I don't mean Marlon Wayans Ripcord, because that was a travesty as it is whenever you put Marlon Wayans in a movie. But, when you had Ripcord on Cobra Island fighting Zartan, and and at the end of the issue, it's like, I'm going to infiltrate and they'll never know I'm not one of them. And if you were an eagle-eyed reader, you realized exactly what was going on, because, through the visual storytelling, Rod Wiggum and Larry Hama, they gave you everything you needed to know about what was happening at the end of that, and it still fooled people. It's just Larry is kind of really, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, just as a storyteller and as a creator and as somebody who does consistently good comics.
Very, very nice. Should we hear from the peoples? Yeah, well, let's get Comics Odyssey. At 47 years of age, I just put up my first comics for sale. My latest YouTube video has all the info. Never too late to do anything. Well, very, very cool. If you're looking to buy some comic books, definitely go to Comics Odyssey and see what's up. Is it going to be a straight sale or is it an auction?
Yes.
I think he means his own book.
Yeah, he's selling his own book like a Kickstarter. I thought he was selling his own comics collection. Good luck with that.
That's the vibe I'm getting at that.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Definitely go over there to Comics Odyssey and see what's up with that. Congratulations. And I hope it does absolutely fantastic for you. I really appreciate you support the channel. That's very, very cool. Jagron 2 says Jim even popped on with Gray for a bit after.
Yeah. Yeah, I got done 4.5 hours and then was on with Gray for close to another hour. It's like 2 a.m.
You just couldn't get enough?
It was like kind of the idea of drinking, just trying to forget things. Podcast replaces my drinking.
It is Comics Odyssey. That is a book he made. So if you want to go check it out, go check it out.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Congratulations, dude. And so, Jim, were you doing like a throwback to when you used to do 13-hour podcasts for no reason?
I did mention that. Yeah, I actually no reason. There is a reason. I'm a loser. But I just kept talking. I don't know. I ended up where I did have problems the last week trying to get my Adderall, and it did come in, and I think it hit me harder than I thought. So I was talking a very fast and kind of like frenzy.
See, he used to do the 13-hour live streams because he was just on coke.
Yeah,
now he just switches to Adderall.
Exactly.
So it's only 6-hour live streams.
It is. I have to get more of an extended release Adderall. Then we'll have 8-hour streams, and then maybe mix coke in, and that'll be great.
So, Dylan, you've done a lot of streams. What's the longest stream you ever done?
I say you've done a lot of coke. What is this? Longest stream I've done?
Well, I mean, you did live in Portland, didn't you? There's like no laws.
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle. Same difference.
Everybody's itching themselves around scratching.
There's like 10 hours is the longest stream I've done.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
That's
just
like,
yeah.
Just not even
cute. No. That's a cute live stream.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely.
That's a Tuesday
not.
For Jim.
Yeah.
10 hours. That must have been playing a game, right? Where you're trying to like finish a level or something.
Yep, just playing a game.
Like I'm sorry, I have a job. I have like other things I could do. I could
Me too, but weekends exist, so I'm able to do that.
Jim's job is being a podcaster, so technically he was working for 13 hours.
I was working, and also instead of playing a game, I think I was talking about DCYOU game books, the worst ever. It was
all of the above.
Yeah.
Adam Frey, taking bets by December. Will I be buying more facsimile books or new comics? Planning on 25 books in May, 9 are reprints.
Ooh.
Well, it depends on how many facsimiles they're putting out. If they're putting a more emphasis on facsimiles and they're doing awesome, badass runs, like we're going to reprint the Dark Phoenix saga or, the Killing Joke and stuff like that, it could end up being facsimiles. But I think you'll be with new books. I don't think they're going to turn up the heat that much on facsimile reprints.
Yeah, facsimile. I'm a sucker for a facsimile anytime. And if it's a foil of the original cover, see, I just don't vibe the whole facsimile cover with the variant covers. Exactly, Doc. Thank you. Because that's not a facsimile.
They're not going to have it's the Land Shark Jeff facsimile anytime soon.
You leave my feelings of Jeff out of this.
Marvel mutt.
Solely, the feel of the DC facsimiles are a million times better than Marvel, though. They put so much better quality paper on theirs.
Yes. And, and it's interesting because that ends up getting an extra $15 a month out of you because you're like, oh, wow, I had that book when I was a kid. I've been eyeballing X-Men 130, Uncanny X-Men 131 for $4.99. And it's like, couldn't you just get a $1 copy, a reader copy out of the bin? But no, look, it's new. It's got
I like the way Marvel is doing their True Believers line, which is like $1 or something like that. And they remove the ads and stuff. But at least it was worth having the cheap paper because it was a cheap ass book. Now you get the cheap paper, but you also get the advertisement, so that's an extra $4.
That's the best part of it, though.
Advertisements that they're not being paid for because most of the companies don't exist anymore.
Well, yeah, you don't have tchotchkes in the back of
ColecoVision and Frogger.
I was reading Jonah Hex back issue the other day that had an O.J. Simpson ad in the back, him selling some sneakers. So that was pretty good.
I like the disclaimer in the inside cover near the indicia of the. These might have problematic. It's trigger warning stuff.
No. If they put a trigger warning in, that automatically makes it not a facsimile anymore.
True.
No,
Doc is right.
Well, in that case, I guess it would be a variant interior, and then Sully would be on board.
A variant interior reprint, sort of.
Our Earthsats remake,
Part 2.
Caleb says, do you think Dan Slott was bullied at school because that story in Mexico can't be true, right? I believe wholeheartedly that he went down to Mexico and made an ass of himself and berated people.
I hope Dan Slott was bullied in school. In fact,
I don't.
I
know
hope,
it, but I'm
in the
certain
locker?
that he probably
I
was.
hope that when the inevitable heart attack takes him and he gets reincarnated, I hope that his reincarnated self is bullied in school.
Doc hopes they make a time machine so he can bully him.
I do. I hope for a time machine so I can go back in time to bully Dan Slott.
Stop Hitler.
Full-grown Doc going back and bully him in school.
Oh, wow.
You know
You're
what though?
like
Here's the thing.
Doctor.
He'll be a better man for Doc's bullying
Yes.
because Doc will
Or
just
it's
push
the
all that
whole-
weakness out of him.
It's the whole time travel thing where that's what causes all in the beginning. That's
Everything.
Well,
why. Yeah, Doc destroyed him, so
Don't
that's
do
what
it.
caused this.
Well, here's the thing. He wouldn't be as fat because I'd keep shoving him in the locker literally the entire way through his life. And even when he gets into his 20s, I'm going to come back again and find a locker to shove him in. So he can't get
I'm going to
400 pounds.
chase him every day. I'm going to chase him home every day so he loses that extra weight so I can fit
I'm
him in the
anti-bullying.
locker.
I don't understand why we're
I am too.
pro-bullying.
I'm
It's
generally
not- I was bullied. It's not fun. But
I
hey, here we are.
think certain nerds need shoved in the fucking locker, and that we became a worse country when we stopped doing that.
The lack of bullying is what has led to this generation of theater kids that think that they're the main character.
Everybody wins, nobody in lockers. So.
No, yeah, exactly. No, see, like Doc, like the Defenstrator from the Six Pack in Garth Ennis's Hitman. Doc will carry the locker with him, the way that
Yes.
Defenstrator carries the window. He'll just be walking on the street with a full size locker. People put them in there.
Just carrying it around, waiting to find Dan Slott so I can shove him in it.
You're on timeout until you learn not to be cringe.
But I mean, it's almost guaranteed that Dan Slott was in fact bullied at school. But a lot of people were bullied back in the day. I was bullied.
I was bullied.
I was
The
too.
problem is when you're bullied and then you become the bully. You relish the power of being the bully. You know,
I was
there's-
bullied.
You
It
learn
was
something.
very, very, very character building for me. There were
And that's
certain
what
things-
that's why you want to go build more character.
I would like. No, here's the thing. I
That's
want
the
Dan
hero.
Slott to have character. Currently, he does not.
I'd like him to be able to write character. That'd be pretty good.
Ooh, that
He
would be
needs to
good.
have character to write character.
That's which is more interesting, prehistoric wolves or knowing that Fantastic Four is DOA when it's predictably all about Sue Storm and her gender struggle.
Man, they really shot themselves in the foot this week by letting the actors talk,
shit.
didn't they?
Oh, poor Disney.
Oh.
Like,
It's like the Hangover 2. It's like it happened again. Like, no.
like I'm sitting there going,
Die Hard
looking at
3.
this, going, the only movie currently in the pipeline that is coming out in the next couple of years that I actually had any hopes might kind of get shit back on track, start figuring out what they're doing, quit fucking up. And Marvel goes, oh, hey, guess what? It's another wonderful opportunity. We could do our best DC impression, turn around and shoot ourselves square in the dick.
Well, listen, I mean, it should have been obvious when they cast Pedro Pascal that this was not going to be a male-led movie. This was not going to have any masculinity in it at all.
It's
So
Ricky
it's not
Ricardo
surprising.
and the Fantastico Four.
It's the Femtastic Four. Between we're going to learn about the gender struggles of it's set in the 60s. And yet you're going like, Joseph Quinn's out there going like, well, I had conversations with Kevin Feige about, Johnny's kind of this devil-may-care, kind of womanizing character. And is that sexy anymore? I don't think so.
He's a little
And
dumb,
we
too.
agreed. Yeah, and it's like, okay. So you're
How
not
could your
playing
sister
Johnny
be a
Storm.
genius?
Why are you setting this in the 60s if you've got Matt Shackman out there, the director, talking about how, well, we set it in the 60s, but then we were like, since it's an alternate universe, we could really do a different version of the 60s. Then it's not the 60s. You're just stealing the look of the 60s.
It's progressive
just,
utopia.
again, it's the skin of something, the skin of the 60s stretched over your modern day gender grievances. And if you're gonna do that, you're not giving anybody anything different than you've been doing for the longest time, and you can't be surprised when people reject it. But overall, the main thing is just stop letting your actors talk.
But here's the thing. As bad as Fantastic Four looks, it's not nearly as dangerous as this direwolf situation. Like, we've already gotten predictors that letting AI become self-aware is a bad idea. It's going to result in the end of humanity. We've already got predictors that if we start taking things that are extinct and bring them into our world, they're going to eat us.
We're going to need the
T-Rexes.
We're going to need the T-Rexes to fight the Skynet Terminator droids. Okay, all of the dystopias are going to happen.
Every single one will collapse in on us at once.
Lasers mounted on raptors is the answer.
Sharks with freaking lasers.
The direwolf situation, it's like, yeah, okay, you made a couple of direwolves. Those would be neat to see in a zoo. But then you read like the people that are working on it, and they're like, we're really excited to get these introduced back into the ecosystem. And you're like, what? And they're talking about like, well, things go extinct, and then they're no longer in the ecosystem. And I'm like, this is like 10,000 years ago.
They were chosen for extinction.
They were chosen for extinction. I'd like to, it'd be cool to see a woolly mammoth in a zoo, but I don't, or it'd be cool to see a saber-toothed tiger in a zoo, maybe, but I don't need one chasing me down when I'm on my way to the grocery store.
Why can't we just have a really well-illustrated picture of a direwolf and be like, oh, that thing existed? We don't have to remake it.
We got out of the food chain. Do you realize how monumentally huge that is? Why are we trying to put ourselves back into it?
Maybe it'll bully Dan Slott.
Yes.
Genetically engineer it. Woolly mammoth this year. They're going to create a woolly mammoth. It cannot be good.
I bet you in like 4 years.
To fight the direwolves, we're going to have to just keep increasingly, going to the well and bringing back some other creature to create the new one that we just created.
You could have a Flintstone so we could start eating it. That'd be pretty cool.
I think in 4 years it's going to be a hoax. They're going to say, remember when back in 2025 when we saw the direwolves? Well, it turns out it was a giant hoax.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you got the people that are like, well, they're not real direwolves. They're just, like the direwolf DNA put into a regular wolf. I'm like, that's even worse. You're not even recreating things that were in the food chain.
It's a variant facsimile.
Yeah, you're making a facsimile, and good God, who knows what the problem is?
The only generation that could think this was smart would be fucking Dylan's generation. What are you guys doing? We fucking explained why this is all a terrible idea.
No. It'll work out. We'll be fine. We'll be all right.
Scientists, do you think you know better what will happen than Michael Crichton? Because you don't.
Save some genetic material from Jimmy, and you can clone your own Bubatus like Asmandius.
How far are we away from them being like, yeah, we're bringing back Bowie?
Ooh, any
but
day
he's
now.
Part direwolf.
He was always a fuzzy.
Direwolf.
And then
it just seems like a terrible idea.
Into X-Men. She can write him into X-Men and have him talking about those furry parties are great, man.
But I didn't even realize they wanted to reintroduce them into the wild. Now it's like an apocalyptic idea.
They'll get eaten. They were raised in a kennel. They are not fit to be in the wild.
Really? Have you ever observed a direwolf in the wild, Sully?
I have no. Who has?
How would you be able to predict that if you haven't observed it?
They were raised in a kennel. I don't know.
Kennel of
Wes,
death.
I was raised in the projects. I know that I can survive in other cities.
You were raised in the projects, so you know.
There are a lot of direwolves in the project.
I was spoiled.
Sully's like, every day when I walked to school, I had to outrun the direwolves to make sure that
we had rats the size of those direwolves. I ain't scared of none.
So, there's gonna be fucking saber-toothed tigers being brought back, woolly mammoths. Yeah. Let's bring a T-Rex and splice it with some fucking frog DNA. What could go wrong? Let's just see what happens.
What if we could we make the T-Rex fly? What if we put T-Rex DNA into crows and we just had flocks of flying little T-Rexes?
Yes, we need dragons
and piranhas.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
And sharks and
tornadoes. Yeah, dragons.
See, like someone in the chat's gonna be like, actually, Wes, a crow T-Rex hybrid probably wouldn't have arms, which would make it more of a wyvern.
It would be more feasible to splice the
not our
T-Rex
chat
with the chicken because they share the same bone structure.
Our chat wouldn't do that, but what'll happen is when the video goes up, somebody who doesn't regularly watch us will come in and do that.
And then they'll blame it on Jim, and Jim will lose his mind.
Well,
I've been through that party before.
About?
Jim doesn't even. Everybody's on the channel doesn't even know what a wyvern is.
That party never ends.
Then Caleb says, "There's a dinosaur trailer I forgot to mention last week. Primitive War. It's based on a book and comic set in Vietnam. It's very gory.
I'm in.
Is this a comic book or is this a movie or like an animation or something?
I think it's a movie. I think I saw like an image of like the poster or something. I was like, I gotta check that out.
Because I've seen images of like some type of new Predator movie, but apparently it's animation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's the new Hulu one where
yeah,
it's going to be like against Vikings and against Samurai. And yeah, it looked pretty cool. Hope it's good.
I mean, it looks better than Badlands sounds, because Badlands is like the Predator comes back and he's the good guy and he befriends the little girl, and it's, Elle Fanning. I guess she's not a little girl, but she's going to be.
I hear
it. Girl power.
Gabe's going to give it a 9.
It looks like Primitive War is set in like Vietnam or something.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
No, like the Vietnam War, not the country.
Well, I mean,
that's what I figured when he said that.
Oh,
really, that's what people mean. There's not a lot.
My bad. I thought it was.
No, it's like no. I mean, I understand you're going with the Frank Reynolds, where you're like, when I was in Vietnam, and they're like, Frank, you didn't fight in the war. You went to Vietnam to set up a sweatshop. And he's like, yeah, a lot of good men died in that sweatshop.
I'll check it out. I like dinosaur movies. If I got kids, they love them too. Kalichioki, this was for you, Sully. I have to ask, who the fuck is Jeff the Landshark?
Oh, that is such a great question. I'm glad that you asked that. Jeff the Landshark. He's like, okay, are you playing Marvel Rivals right now? You don't know who Jeff the Landshark is? He was created by Kelly Thompson. He's a cute anthropomorphic kind of. Kelly Thompson.
He's an adult, Sully. So.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. Jim and I were talking about it last week, and it's like, why do you like Jeff the Landshark? And I'll tell you why.
Because it's easier than saying you're non-binary.
Hey, you know what? I'll
cheaper than drinking Bud Light.
Keep my alphabet letters out of your mouth, there, Sparrow. Or N, you cutie. But really, Jeff the Landshark's very much. It's comic, and it's for comic relief. It's a shark with paws. It's very dog-like. Doesn't speak, and it reminds me of Odie from Garfield. I was a big Garfield reader when I was a kid, and Odie was.
How dare you besmirch the name of fucking Odie by comparing?
I love Odie, but Odie.
He also hates Mondays.
Yeah,
and loves lasagna, and but he just reminds me a lot of that Odie character. Odie was very funny, very expressive, had no dialogue, and was an important part of what was going on in the little story. And I love those Garfield books and those strips growing up. So I'm like, Jeff the Landshark has a lot of that energy. And I thought it was, I can recognize that and I can appreciate it. And it's fun. And it's just cute. It's fun. It's stupid. And
let's not give Kelly Thompson too much credit, because Land Sharks were already a joke. And then she just saw Guardians of the Galaxy, where they had the guy named Jeff, which was kind of a funny moment, because there's a bunch of people in space and the guy's name is Jeff.
Right.
And then there's, of course, the internet meme, I'm Jeff. So it's not like she put a lot of thought into it. She just did what all these writers do now, and what she does in particular, which is, what's memeable right now? I'm going to put that in a comic. And it's not going to be dated at all.
But it's stuck. And now it's even in Marvel Rivals. I really hope for her sake, she's got one of those sweet-ass deals, like, being a co-creator, and she doesn't paid out for this. That would be cool.
She doesn't have a Liefeld deal. It's not happening.
Yeah. My kids watch Shark Dog. I'll stick with that one. Jagged 2. So for $102 before taxes, should I pick up Absolute Green Lantern Sinestro Core War hardcover or Batman the Dark Age, because I like Mike Allred's art? This is
Sinestro
a no-brainer. In my opinion, it's Sinestro Core War.
Yeah. I agree.
Sinestro Core War is great. I didn't read Dark Age, but I read Space Age, and it sucked. So
it's Mark Russell.
Mark Russell.
$102 for Mark Russell.
Yeah, true. The Allred art is pretty good, and
but Sinestro Core War has way better art than the Allred art.
Does it have everything, like all the one shots?
I've never cared for Mike Allred's art, to be honest. It's just never been my cup of tea. I don't dislike it, but it doesn't.
It's oversized too, so you can really get into the art.
I picked up Sinestro Core War. You can find it periodically at like half price books.
Yeah.
I got mine for like hardcover Absolute Edition.
Yeah, I got mine for like $40 at her half price books.
And then go get some sort of commission from Allred.
It's really cheap for an Absolute Edition.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Also, here the other thing is, I mean, I don't know where Jagron is, but Ollie's periodically has Absolute Editions. Hell, I just sent Aaron the Absolute, and it was $30.
Yeah, you get a
25. $25 for the absolute Jim Lee Justice League. And I've also picked up Rucka Absolute Wonder Woman. I picked up like 3 other Absolute editions there and a couple of Marvel omnibuses, all for less than $30 each.
Very nice. So let's see if you got an
keep an eye out for an Ollie's, dude. I'd say wait.
Yeah,
Absolute Grey Lantern Sinestro Corps War is easily the pick, though. That's the better book by a long shot.
By the way, if any of you have an Ollie's nearby and you happen to walk in and they ever have Power Princess from Marvel Legends there, buy every single one and then message me.
Caleb says, I would like to see some Ice Age animals like cave lions or a dodo, but it's a bad idea. Modern animals I can probably be okay with.
I mean, if we can keep the tiger, I just wish we would concentrate on like keeping rhinos and tigers from going extinct. If we could just get people to stop believing that killing them and then ingesting parts of their body give you a better boner. We could probably save a lot of animals.
You can start cloning like tusks or shark tail.
We could see what we could do about moving Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos out of the Amazon.
If we end up getting more of them, though, we could eat more.
You guys have never had a delicious bowl of tiger penis soup, if that's your opinion, Aaron.
That's amazing. I've never had
wine. Some 3 penis wine.
I've never had a soup where I've said to myself, you know what would make this soup better?
Penis.
Penis.
I think Sparrow needs a mini-me, and that's the next one.
But I don't think we should bring back any Ice Age animals at all. Ever. I don't think we should consider it. I think it's a terrible idea.
No, but I think we should work on domesticating bears.
Oh,
that's fine. There are bears in the wild. Good luck with that.
I know.
You should train them yourself.
The Russians have already done it, Doc. Have you ever seen it?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
On the internet.
I'm pretty sure
hanging out with bears all day.
The Russians have like a treaty with the bear population, and that's like, they're allies.
If you were a single Russian man, there is a 30% chance that your roommate is a bear.
Yeah, and also an animal.
That's true. You have to clarify that nowadays.
Yes, you don't want to look up now guys hanging out with bears. You might.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was one joke I enjoyed on that. A couple of them, but there was one joke in particular that I enjoyed on that Muppet show, even though it was kind of pushing the Muppet envelope a little bit. But it was like Fozzie talking about dating in LA, and he goes, "Yeah, when you say that when you put an ad in the paper saying that you're a bear looking for companionship, you get a lot of surprising responses."
So what are your thoughts on this one, though? The dodo is extinct, but it's more relatively recent. Although it wasn't, I don't think it was like hunted into extinction.
No, they're fucking idiots. It's like pandas. Why are we keeping them alive? They want to die.
Every time you see a panda video, you're like, how do they?
Or they've evolved. The genetic survivors hit the jackpot and evolved into something else.
Yeah.
And that's the point of evolution.
They were an evolutionary dead end.
So it's
if that's the case, then we got to have some hard discussions about like Dan Slott again.
Oh shit.
So Doc, what's your problem with pandas? Why don't you like pandas?
Because we have to actively try to get them the fuck.
In captivity,
sounds like Generation Z.
Even in the wild, they don't reproduce. Like they are literally trying to exterminate themselves by like just being like, I'm good. I'm just gonna. Additionally,
you're probably playing video games and jerking off too much.
You have a bear. You have a bear that
Panda Hub
eats bamboo all day with 0 nutritional value.
Dan Slott.
It is an animal.
The panda.
Actually, Dan Slott has a very panda. Dan Slott has a very panda-like body. Actually,
it's a spirit animal.
I would not be surprised if I saw him falling out of a tree and then just rolling and then just getting back up and just kind of toddling along.
Doc's 100% right, because when these pandas actually start doing things, it's big news. Like, oh my God, they had sex.
Next on Panda Aficionados.
That's why the pandas aren't doing it. It's because we're all staring at them, waiting for them to do it.
Exactly.
There's just, people always just like, they're like, I can't do this.
Can't get it up with.
Even Billy Pilgrim needed the privacy dome.
They're all sitting over in the corner in that chair.
Kalichioki makes the best point. How about they actually focus on curing cancer instead of this bullshit?
That's a very
because there's no money in curing things. Big Pharma doesn't cure things.
But maybe bringing back the passenger pigeon will cure cancer, right? Passenger pigeon.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe the dodo had a gland that actually had,
passenger pigeon. I'll send you one, Jim, and it's going to have a note. Get a colonoscopy.
Exactly. Passenger pigeon. You have cancer. Oh crap.
It's like Rockefeller convincing the entire world that oil comes from dead dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because he needed to justify raising the price because it was in such fucking abundance.
I think that much like it's stated in Big Trouble in Little China, it's the black blood of the earth, and it reproduces.
It is.
I've never met a caveman with cancer. So maybe there's a reason.
Maybe we should recreate the caveman.
In fairness, though, like 40 years ago, people that were like 50 looked like they were 90.
Yeah,
and now at 50, you still look like, because of all the goddamn preservatives we eat, we're getting preserved by them.
Well, also, they had a lot of malnutrition, especially through the Great Depression.
Yeah,
I'm
going with all the preservatives in our food.
I'm just saying, if we're going to bring back like fucking
better dentistry,
Cro-Magnon Man, I don't want them splicing that DNA with Doc. We don't want a dumber Cro-Magnon Man. You know what I mean?
You don't want a Cro-Magnon Man that's right.
You can have another worse cup.
That's always fucking right.
Get out of here.
No, Doc said something the other day, just comics related. I got to say this. Doc said something the other day that I thought this will come true. Is he was talking about the smaller and smaller window between Marvel launching a title and then rebooting that title with the same creative team. So now it's like 10 issues. You know, you got new number 1, new status quo, this creative team canceled by 10, relaunch new number 1, same creative team. And Doc predicted that eventually Marvel will only be number 1 issues. That's all it will be. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to happen.
More than likely. HH the fellas at Sigma Comics. Shout out to the boys with the poise from Windy City. Sigma Comics getting it done for indies and the animals. Support your comics aficionados. That's awesome.
So you're
at C2E2.
Hey, hold on. It is HH. He might be at Exotica because it's also in Chicago this week.
Really?
I assume it is at C2E2. And you know who else is there? I believe one of our Patreon backers, Jess, is there. I hope they're all having a great time.
My little brother's there. All 3 days.
Cool.
Are we sure any of them are there and not at Exotica?
Well, let me ask you this. HH, you know, he's a big animal rights guy. How does he feel about we got to get HH on the show and talk about this whole direwolf situation.
The direwolf thing, you know? And I wonder if
Nick probably have a more informed opinion.
Yeah. Javane's going too. I mean, that's their backyard, man.
Decepticons, Cave of Collectibles, Pop Kill, Mad Cave Comics. It's good Hitman Soda.
That seemed like a collection of words.
It's Pop Kill has good covers. It's got some great covers.
Yeah, it's got Paul Miotti on it, and he's been pimping the shit out of that. I enjoy reading Jimmy on X. He's all over the place.
It's funny because I will argue vehemently with Jimmy, and it'll seem like it's really like mean spirited, but it's not. And the thing that I like about Jimmy is that you can like, you know, and you're still cool as long as you don't get like, you know, just really really ugly with it.
Yeah,
but you can fire back and forth, and he's still cool with you at the end of the day, and I love that about him.
I'm sorry. Can somebody explain this super chat? I legitimately don't understand it.
You broke Doc's brain.
You did.
Your lack of punctuation, Decepticon, is beguiling Doc. You need
the Decepticon Cave of Collectibles.
You have one properly used apostrophe. We congratulate you on that. But the rest of the sentence, we're lucky we have kerning and proper spacing.
Should I read? Like, should we just do Decepticon's Cave of Collectibles super chat? Should I just do that like in Starscream voice from now on? Like everything he sends us. Like,
yes,
why not?
I love it.
Cave Comics is good Hitman Soda, Megatron.
I love that.
That's great. Spot on.
Caleb says, "Did you look at those links I sent you in your DM last week?" I did. Did you check those out, Sparrow?
I have not. I'm a failure in communication.
You should probably do it. The artist is very, very talented. Obviously has a way with Venom and Mary Jane. She's in some sexy poses, but there are some very, very nice pencils on the link that you sent, and I do appreciate that.
Actually, I think I did look at it now that you mentioned what it is. Because I did look at some very nice Mary Jane and Venom pencils.
You get some cheek on that one, at least some side cheek. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a side cheek guy or are you a side boob guy?
Both.
Oh, I mean, I celebrate the whole catalog.
I am an under boob guy.
Oh, under boob. That's why Madeline Pryor was so hot as the Goblin Queen. That was good under boob.
Primarily because you know what you're going to see when the shirt is off now, too, because gravity takes care of it with under boob.
So you think it's a good
Doc
preview.
has broken it down to a science where I was just like, yay.
I mean, you're covered. You're still covered. You're still decent. But I also know what you're going to look like when you're naked. I know how they're going to lay.
There you go.
Damn.
But yes, we did check it out. Thank you very much, Caleb. An average worm says it's easier to resurrect extinct animals than it is to resurrect talented writers at Marvel. Oh,
There's
man,
money.
That's what Marvel should do. They should They should start, digging up some dudes and repopulating them.
They can Serpentor together like an actual good comic writer. We need Dr. Mindbender. Well, hold on. There would have to be money in Marvel Comics to do it. There is probably some sort of money in whoever's resurrecting extinct animals.
If we could resurrect Mark Gruenwald, I would donate my Squadron Supreme that has his ashes in the ink so that they can get genetic material to resurrect
I would legitimately give a kidney. I got 2. They're both in good condition. I think.
I don't know.
I donate a kidney to like Frankenstein together, Mark Grunwald.
You can throw in Natasha Jean Giraud Mobius, please, for me.
No, it definitely shows that Marvel isn't exactly prioritizing writers right now.
Or anything.
Well, no, they're prioritizing variant covers. They seem to invest a lot of money in that.
New number ones.
Yes. Probably in the chat says Doc went to strip club high school.
Yes.
That sounds like a good name for a property. We're stealing that off you.
It does, yeah, no, that's. I'm definitely putting that in Doomface.
Aaron, you and I need to get locked in a room.
We got it. We can spin it off. That's money. We'll cut you in, probably.
It's going to be toyetic too. Think of the strip club like playset with the pole. Get magnets on the hand so you can spin around.
Oh my god.
Calb says Pedro Pascal is Hollywood's favorite feminist punching bag. Also, why isn't everything like Zendaya?
I made the joke this week that someone did a great Pedro Pascal the movie, and he's like every role, and I just retweeted it and said he even beat out Zendaya for the role of Zendaya.
Yep.
He's in a lot of stuff.
I don't think Zendaya's in as much as everybody thinks she is.
So early. I mean,
no, she's in a lot of stuff.
She's in a lot of stuff, but she's not Pedro Pascal level.
Right.
No.
Dude,
I don't know. So Pascal's in too much stuff, but I still think he's good. I freaking loved him in Narcos. He's the best part of the dog shit Kingsman sequel. I think he's good, but he is in way too much stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
but the Kingsman sequel is dog shit.
Yeah, but it's not because of him. He's the best part of that.
Yeah, he is the best part of that.
I mean, even looking back on it,
he's fun in that movie. That movie.
That and Mark Strong singing, because it's supposed to be a serious moment, and I could not stop laughing in the theater as he blew up and died. Sorry, guys, for the spoilers, but the movie's been out for a few years. You've had your chance.
It's been out for a little bit.
I lost it. I could not stop, and people in the theater, I could feel them getting irritated, and that just made me laugh harder. Because I was like,
Game of Thrones.
So damn dumb.
Yeah, he was really good in Game of Thrones. That's what I'm saying.
He was good in Game of Thrones. He's good in the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I mean,
he's really good.
He turns in good performances. It's just, the fact that he's a pedophile apologist and that he comes out and he runs his mouth about things that, it's like you're an actor and you should listen to Anthony Hopkins and know that you're not smart. And you should.
Why are people mad at Zendaya? She doesn't say anything. She just kind of looks like this.
Well, that's because we're mad at her for the roles she's been put in. Okay.
What?
Oh, okay. Everything in my house is ringing. I'll be back.
Mr. Traffic at the 12s and weather on the 5s.
I thought Jim's time has come and he had fell down that hole and we were experiencing it together.
The angelic choir will now begin to sing.
Cal says, I wonder why Hollywood is showing more pregnant women like Sue Storm fighting and doing dangerous things. Was there a dark, sinister message to it? I got
a theory. One of the best movies, we were talking about all-time favorite movies in the green room before, and this is one of my answers. It's the Coen brothers' Fargo from 1996. And Frances McDormand is pregnant. She's in late pregnancy, and she is the hero of Fargo. She takes down the big bad, you know what I mean, by herself. She's in the most vulnerable state a woman can be, and she's the hero of the story. So it works. It can work. It's worked before, and
well, they've been doing it in action roles. And honestly, they started doing it. I think I remember the first time I recall it being done in a straight up like action series was when they did it with Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman. And she spent that entire fucking series pregnant.
Right.
And then they did the same thing, except for then they race swapped her for the Spider-Verse sequel.
Right.
And then they've been doing it in a number of other things. I think it's just because when they did it for Spider-Woman, it got a lot of people talking about it. Not in a good way, but it got people talking about it, and Hollywood and most of pop culture is in a please fucking pay attention to us, for the love of God, we need attention mode right now. And good or bad publicity, they don't give a shit as long as they're getting somebody talking about any of their wares, because we've all tuned out of pop culture. I think that's it.
It kind of makes sense for Fantastic Four. Sue Storm has children in the story. I guess they want to put it in the first one.
And it's actually, and its story kind of, it matters because how is Franklin supposed to become Franklin, like the gifted power Franklin? And well, he was up there when, and then that happened. She was pregnant. That's
no. Here's the thing. That can happen because most science freaks, they are essentially mutates. It alters them on a genetic level, but after birth, so they're not mutants. But because their genome is now altered, their likelihood of giving birth to mutants rises.
And that's why Franklin canonically in the books is a mutant.
Yes.
Not anymore. Dan Slott right away.
Again, anything that fat fuck has to say doesn't count as canon.
Yeah. Mike Ortego. Thoughts on Josh Williamson as a writer? He should never ever do an event again. He's a good hand. I think he's got some quality to him. He has an issue with endings, but he is terrible at events. Jim, you are back. What are your thoughts on Josh Williamson as a writer?
I think that Joshua Williamson is really good at character work. I think that he does a good job at understanding the characters. I think he starts stories that seem exciting, gets too caught up in other things as they go, adds things, drops things, and by the end it all falls flat. But I still think he's a good writer, but character work, I think he does great.
Dylan, you got any thoughts on Williamson? He's more of a DC guy?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's good at character work. I think he gets too big for his britches sometimes. I think he can definitely get spread thin. There was that time where he was writing so many books at once and you could see the quality going down. But now that he's more centered, he's doing pretty good. Superman's gotten better. G.I. Joe's really good. But yeah, keep him away from events. He's not an architect. He can't do that stuff. It's not his specialty.
Yep. Definitely a solid hand and a good guy to have as your number 3 or 4 writer. You don't want him as your number 1, though.
Like I missed his Flash run. Would you recommend I go back and read it?
I liked what he did on Flash for the most part.
Yeah. Once you kind of get up to Flash War, it gets a little iffy, and then you get into the Heroes in Crisis stuff.
Force Quest.
There's like a Flash Quest. Yeah, Force Quest. Yeah. Afterwards, but then at the very end, the last 8 issues are good again. So there's like a 15-issue part of it that's not very quality, but it's actually really good. A lot of the stuff he does is great, and if you like Reverse Flash, he plays a big role in the end. Callum, speaking of Afterbirth, that's what Devil Born Again is. Ugh. I haven't continued watching it yet. Is anyone else watching Daredevil Born Again?
I'm watching every episode. Yeah,
I'm an episode.
And you haven't given up yet?
No, it's not very good. This last episode was better than most, though. The last 8 minutes are pretty good, but other than that, it's still there's some really dumb stuff. I'll give them a pass for how bad the season is because of the weird Frankenstein's monster they made with it, with like what they did before the revamp and put it together. If season 2 is bad, then it's like, okay, it's all wash. But
is it still 18 total episodes, 9 and 9? Or
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so there's one more episode for this season.
Yes, yeah. The final episode, that's when Punisher's going to be coming in this final episode.
Okay.
Wrecking House. So hopefully that's cool.
And Matt's getting his black outfit next season. Not the black armor, but the
Black Daredevil.
The Black Daredevil.
Shadowland.
Yeah. The Shadowland one. Yeah. Yep. And when he was the kingpin of New York of Hell's Kitchen, or the leader of the Hand, or were they both?
The Hand. He was I think he somehow something to do with merging with the Beast or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking a break for Disney Plus until Andor comes back. And the trailers on that have actually been good, so I'm expecting it to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm about to rewatch the first season. Preparation.
When's it coming back?
April 22nd, I believe.
Oh, so we're like less than 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Exciting. Finally, something Star Wars to be excited about.
Sparrow, you need to watch Andor before season 2, dude. It's good.
Do it.
I don't have Disney Plus.
It's on Docbuster.
You can get it
video.
on. There you go.
Okay. I'll watch it on Docbuster then. Oh man, Docbuster's got so much good stuff.
Who are you going to call?
Oh, Dylan. I mean, are you reading Star Wars Jedi Knights?
No, I'm
issue
not.
2 came out this week, and I gave it a favorable review because it's set in it's set a few years before Phantom Menace. So we got Obi-Wan.
If you tell him what happens in that book, I think Dylan will tell you.
Yeah, Dylan's going to tell him it's garbage.
It's probably but it's
too much Yoda doing non-Yoda things.
It's the best
Yoda
book.
with the lightsaber dueling some dude you never heard of getting beat.
I already read all the stuff that happens before Phantom Menace, and it was put out by Dark Horse, and it was great. I don't know what this continuity is. But
new comics you're talking about.
But Star Wars Jedi Knights is the best Star Wars comic they probably had in a couple years.
That's what, like
not
it is.
saying
I'm not
much,
saying
but
it's not saying
low bar to clear. Low bar to clear.
But it's fine. Next issue is going to be Qui-Gon and Anakin going on a mission.
Mm-hmm. I wonder where did
Qui-Gon and Anakin? When did they go on a mission?
I'm sorry, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, but that would not surprise me.
It was a whole lot of time for them to do much.
in between these frames of the movie, they had a whole lot you didn't know about.
Well, it's kind of like in Madam Web, where they just pause the plot so that she can go on a side quest and just tells everybody to stand there and make do.
Commo.vhs, do you think 90% of Marvel's problems is the editors? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. 99%. And the other 1% has got to be
the ones doing the
bosses.
hiring.
I think
90% of that editorial problem is Tom Brevoort.
I'm of the opinion that it is about 70% editors, 25% David Gabriel.
No, Buckley too. You gotta throw some shade on Buckley.
Yeah, but he kind of goes. But so like the marketing and publishing side, and the last 5% on Disney not recognizing what they purchased when they bought it. They thought they were buying a movie studio and an already built IP farm. They didn't realize that they actually had to continue planting seeds in that farm.
Well, then they quickly abandoned the farm when Kevin Feige said, "I'm the genius behind all this. I don't need the Ike Perlmutter. I don't need this brain trust of Marvel people telling me what worked in the comics. I'm the guy."
Yeah.
There we go. Very good point there. We do need to give a shout out to the latest and newest backer of Think Critical Patreon, Jose Garcia, aka the Nexar himself, protector of the tether. Welcome to the family. I hope you are enjoying Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description if you're interested in following Jose's lead and supporting the channel there. We have lots of awesome podcasts featuring Jim, Doc, Aaron, 32 Flavors Necklace. We got all kinds of great stuff going over there. Having a great time. As I mentioned, there's a link in the video description. Really appreciate you coming aboard, Jose. And I guess we should get to the first big topic, which I apparently have forgotten to place in the thing. But it is DC absolutely dominating Marvel Comics in March, taking 7 of the top 10 slots. All 6 of DC's absolute titles actually ended up making it into the top 10. Dylan, you're more of a DC than a Marvel zombie. It's a good day. We haven't seen this in years that DC absolutely wiped the floor with Marvel Comics in sales.
Yeah, it's cool to see. It's just, can it hold? We had like 2 number 1s in the top 10 from the absolutes, and we see that Absolute Superman's been slipping a little bit, so who knows if it has legs, but right now it's going, and it's pretty cool to see. So be nice if DC actually is able to capitalize on this and not just shoot themselves in the foot like normal and just ruin everything after some success, because that seems to be a trend with DC. But we'll see where it goes. Hopefully
next month, everything pauses and it's just fartaculars across the board. Line-wide fart comics that interrupt every storyline.
I can see this happening. They're promoting the Summer of Superman, all of these absolute books. Every single one that has had an ad for the Summer of Superman special. So we'll see if that actually works and sales go up for that. And people actually start reading some Superman, some of these other mainline books, because that's what they got to do. They got to convert this into people actually reading the mainline books, because who knows what happens when these absolute books, when the wheels fall off and people get uninterested, or even the creators themselves get bored with what they're doing in the absolute universe, because it's not going to last forever.
You start getting art like you got in Batman this week.
Yeah, that's another thing. When you got these fill-in artists coming in, and it's not quite as interesting without Nick Dragotta on there.
Yeah,
or regular art like Green Lantern.
You start to see the cracks.
Yeah, absolute Green Lantern. I'm surprised that sold so well. That was. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sold to retailers well. We'll see.
Yeah.
Fartacular came in at number 159 here in our top 200.
That is depressing.
With all the marketing and word of mouth that had,
but that's still charted way too high for what it is.
Yeah,
and Sully helped with that.
I did not purchase this. No, I did not.
Sully, we
looked at it on a pirate site.
Sully, I don't know if you caught the podcast, but Wes and I talked about how you're quickly becoming our Sylvester, and everyone else on the panel is Sylvester Jr. So you're like, yeah, I bought the Red Band book, and we all go, oh, father, and put a bag over our head.
Father. The shame. It's cute. Oh, thanks. No, I did not. I can't buy a Joanne Starr book. She's got me blocked on Twitter for some kind of adjacency reasons, or because I might have said something mean.
I love that's the reason why you won't buy a Joanne Starr book.
That's the reason. I would give her, if it was good, I would give the same reason I won't buy Dan Slott.
It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Spider-Boy is kind of good, and I'm not going to spend my money on it. Fuck him.
There is a physical impossibility of it being good.
There's something that, oh man, see, I almost had something there where I was like, Dan Slott has blocked more people on Twitter than he has arteries.
Whoa! Here we go.
That's only 4.
No, but even being close to Dan Slott, your arteries start clogging up by proximity.
Yeah, so he's actually doing all of us a favor. It's good for our heart health to be blocked by Dan Slott on Twitter.
Oh, wait. Dan Slott character added to Kneel Before Doomface. The cholesterol. There we go. Got it. Written down.
All right. But no. Look, DC is just spanking Marvel with the money.
10 out of in the top 10, they're all $4.99 books. 8 of them are DC. The 2 Marvels are Ultimate Wolverine number 3 and One World Under Doom issue number 2. They come in at 8 and 9 on the list. And then there's Amazing Spider-Man at 11, which was a $5.99 book.
Yeah, and those are 2 limited series, right? Like Ultimate and One World Under Doom. So those aren't even ongoings.
Yeah.
So
because Absolute Martian Manhunter is one of 6, and it came in at the number 4 spot. We should have seen this in the Casey Kasem.
Got extended to 12.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Oh boy.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Dennis Camp and
Okay,
company.
who does Dennis Camp have pictures of with a hooker?
No, there is a whole weird contingent of people that have never read anything that think that he's good.
That's
like,
what.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I see that all over Twitter.
Reverse
Yep,
sniper
all
bros.
Yeah,
There
was one guy who was I was like, man, I can't imagine being a man and sending this message to another man. I mean, although Dennis Camp, that's a spurious title there, but the guy was like, the leeks have been chopped, the onions have been peeled, blah blah blah. Let the man cook, and I was like, oh my god, like I was just like, oh.
These Dennis Camp people they're like what happened originally and still with Tom King. That they demand that the thing they're doing, like Tom King's doing, is the best to people who know the character for 20 years. But those people are idiots, and these Dennis Camp people are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're everywhere on Twitter. They're all over.
Once again, reminding us why we need to bring back insane asylums.
Oh, wow.
They're all out on the street now.
He actually should get some shampoo.
I will say
that I've seen.
I'll say this about Camp, though. Absolute Martian Manhunter 1 and this week's Ultimates number 11, I'm a stoner. And this is like written by a stoner for stoners. These two issues. And they weren't particularly awful, and I could just see myself smoking a big old spleef. And you just go,
I want that to be the quote on the dust jacket. It just says, not particularly awful.
Not
particularly
For
not
stoners,
particularly awful when you're high.
Yeah.
Do you ever read Dennis Camp on weed?
Dude, now I think we do need to bring back dinosaurs just so that we can honor Trevor Moore's memory by getting high with dinosaurs.
No, honestly, Marvel right now has been ignoring the will of the readership for so long. I think that the zombies feel like they actually found a cure for the zombie virus. I mean,
yeah, I think that what Marvel's doing is even worse. They actually seem to be actively trying to do things to not give fans what they want. Like way more than just not, being incompetent. They're actually like willingly trying to just screw people.
Yeah, it reminds me of an old joke. How do you keep a moron in suspense? I'll tell you later.
How?
I'll tell you later.
I'm hanging on your every word.
I was like, all of a sudden we were all, this is interesting.
We're going to string along the readers and you know what I mean? Just keep them. That's how marketing is show that this is how we're going to keep the reader's interest.
When your executive editor actually comes out and says, don't read the books.
Yeah.
Listen to him. Listen to him. Give him what he wants. He won't give you what you want, so give him what he wants. Don't read the books. Walk away from Marvel. Stop reading their crap. Get out of this abusive relationship.
Well, I still imagine ASM will be the top-selling book next month.
Oh, yeah.
It's the number one.
Or this God, we have to talk about that, right? That's one of our subjects. I think that's a better subject.
Anyone read it? I read it.
I read it.
You did, Dylan?
Yep, I read it.
Ooh.
Well, we'll get to it, but we got to celebrate DC Comics. Finally, the publisher that's putting out the better books won the month and didn't just win it. They absolutely annihilated them almost entirely on the back of Absolute Universe. And obviously Jim Lee returning to Batman, which is really big news. That was the number one seller. Well, I don't know that the Absolute Universe is going to have absolute staying power because I do think a few of the books aren't all that particularly good, but I think it's cool.
I think Jim Lee being back on a book did get some lapsed readers in. I think it did bring them in. Now, I think him being only on there for 6 months is not long enough for word of mouth to really get around. It'll be over before half of the most lapsed of the readers would hear about it. So that's where your problem lies. And I think that getting those lapsed readers into the store also got them to say, oh, fuck it, I'll give this Absolute thing a try. And a lot of them did.
What do you think, Dylan? You're the DC guy. This is for a younger, hipper, more modern audience. I think Absolute Batman's a hoot.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think Snyder's doing his thing and people are enjoying it. And of course, that Nick Drago art, it's a lot of fun right now. And it just doesn't have the staying power to hold up. And how long can you do this? And how long till the gimmick gets boring of just it's a big dumb Batman. He's got some insane gadgets on his suit that he constantly is pulling out. How long until that wears off? But right now, it's really fun. Can DC spread this throughout their line? Can they be like, hey, we actually have a lot better talent than Marvel. You should go check out all this. We actually have some good writers and artists over here. It's actually fun. We actually got some good stuff. Can they convince people to check out the other titles? Hopefully they can.
Yeah, can they hop over to a Green Lantern or prop up the sales of Superman, Batman, and Robin, some of their better books?
Like this week's Aquaman and Green Lantern Corps, the center page of the staples is a double-page spread ad for the that War of Tomorrow, the War of Yesterday. Is that the Mark Waid crossover that's coming up?
We Were Yesterday, I believe is the name of it.
Yeah, We Are Yesterday. I can look it right up, but it's like hopefully that will sell. I'm not going to buy it. I'm sorry, Mark Waid. Yeah,
I think the name itself is a turnoff. We Were Yesterday. What a stupid name for an event.
Well, it describes Mark Waid's career.
He's doing the new history of the DC universe.
Yeah, and nobody gives a fuck when he's on something. They stop buying it.
The history of the Marvel Universe that he did.
Yesterday. There you go.
Are you excited for We Were Yesterday?
I was going to say, the grammar is wrong there.
We were. Yeah, it's like Back to the Future.
What if we was yesterday? WUZ.
We is yesterday?
Because we was yesterday because that lets Marvel, that lets Wade tap into that, that urban thing that he does so well. Remember, this is a man who told me that, when I complimented a character that he introduced in Irredeemable, and he said, it was a black character. I didn't say great job on the black character. I just said, I like the new character. And he said, I don't know how to write street, so I just went against type and made him the smartest guy in the room. And I just stood there for a second and was like, you have no idea what you just said, do you? You have no idea. You have no idea that the hand that you just tipped, like the insight that you just gave me.
Yeah. Not a shining moment for Mr. Wade.
No, well, it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. It's a lot of far left white liberals have that.
So, Dylan, the Absolute Universe, you're the big Superman guy, and I think that one outside of Green Lantern is the worst book. That's probably a problem. That's probably why it's starting to dip.
Yeah, I dropped off after 2 issues, but I do. Again, it's like from what Twitter feeds me, I see people loving that, which is confusing to me because after 2 issues, I was like, this book's giving me no reason to care about this Superman at all. It feels like it's about everything but the character of Superman, and just I don't get why people are enjoying it.
I made it to 5 issues, and they still hadn't told you though.
Yeah, there's nothing to him. There's nothing to his character. You get everything that's happening around him and Krypton, but then nothing about him and who he is as a character, right. Why you should care. So I just dropped off.
With the suit
but wait, Dylan, hang on. Dust Cape.
Oh, now I'm sold. Yeah, you got me.
Oppression. Class warfare. Do I have you yet? Are you
hair? It's got great hair.
It is weird that they gave the most powerful superhero more powers, like a Deus Ex Machina, fucking.
Well, you gave big dumb Batman more gadgets, so you have to get, what do you give Superman? You give him more power.
You made him look like Timothy Chalamet. That's going to sell the chicks. Come on.
Sad that Rafa Sandoval's on that, though, because he's really good. So
he's
I wish
fantastic.
It'd be cool to see him on an actual good book instead of this.
You didn't get to see the last issue of Absolute Wonder Woman, did you?
Yes, I saw the art on that. That was really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks so much better.
That looked way better than the previous arts, who does great on a Batman story with dark patterns, but just doesn't fit this fantastical Wonder Woman Greek mythology world.
That was pretty cool where he was explaining, how she had created her red lasso and she had gone out there and found Prometheus strapped to a mountain, and then she fought some type of dragon thing. If that's what the book ends up being, I'll keep reading that one. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, Kelly Thompson is outdoing herself. She's actually doing a good job here, which I did not expect. She's doing a good job with Absolute Wonder Woman. It's fun.
Yeah, she made Jeff the Land Shock too. So come on, at least she's consistently good, right?
Eat your parfait, okay?
Shut your hole, your parfait.
Did you get to check out the Martian Manhunter?
I didn't because I don't like Ultimates. I was like, I don't really care to read this. I heard it was good though,
Ultimates,
but
it's weird. The art is really, really good. But it's just kind of weird. Like, you don't know anything really by the end of the first issue. Other than it's weird that he can smell people's memories and know what they've done bad and stuff like that.
Because that's what you do when you're like sitting there and you're like,
no.
Yes.
Dude, what if you could like
smell memories? Smoke someone's memories.
I just talked to Dan Slott and I smelled his memories.
Oh God.
It was a large pizza.
Large
kind of
pepperoni with extra cheese.
Hamburgers.
If there is one person whose memories you can smell, it's probably Dan Slott.
But it's good. I'm glad DC finally pants Marvel, and hopefully this will maybe inspire Marvel to do better, because I would like some good Marvel.
Or convert some readers that realize they don't just have to stick with Marvel just because it's Marvel. They're allowed to read good comics.
But look in the top 50. With the entire top 50, though, it is dominated by Marvel.
Yeah.
There's two
once you get
image
outside
titles,
the top 10.
and once you get outside the top 10, it's pretty much Marvel is dominating. So, I mean, there is some balance there, I feel.
Why do you got to ruin our fucking parade, Sully? We're sitting here trying to champion the great work of DC. They finally dominate Marvel. Like, well, technically,
and this.
With the Jeff the Land Shark of it all, and
with your Jeff the Land Shark wet blanket that you're gonna pee on and throw in our fire, you sus, Sully.
Sully, what is in your parfait? Let's brag to the people. What did you make?
We've got whip topping, we've got cherry pie filling, and devil's food cake, and the Black Forest combination.
So did you make the cherry pie filling, or did you get like a can?
No, I get these at the supermarket. They're just the grab and go, $2.99. They're irresistible. They're so bad for you because it's all processed food. It's just whipped topping, and that's not processed food. That's ultra processed food. It's ultra processed food, and this is so bad for you. But guess what? I got a sweet tooth. And there's nothing in the world like dessert.
You could eat a banana.
Relatable.
Yeah, there's more of me to love right now. Trust me.
The chat is asking if Jim is still with us. We're not letting Jim talk enough.
Oh,
hello,
Jim. You're a DC fan. You should be very excited about this. DC beat the crap out of Marvel. I'm sorry.
Well, technically, the top 50 is dominated, but I just made a Dan Slott joke. Everybody, I can't win. Either I talk too much or I don't talk. I'm hanging. But yeah, I was happy. I agree with everything we said, that the Absolute books, they seem to have a limited, space. And even when Scott Snyder talked about it. Now, this is what I really worry about. And I think Dylan already said, and you said, the idea that the gimmick might wear off, but the problem is you might get like a Hawks and Pox type thing where Hickman wanted to move on to the next level and do more things or even end whatever. And they're going to force, because it's so good, they're just going to force it to keep going. And then it falls apart. And then you not only have, then they're just shitty books and it taints the whole thing. But for now, it's my favorite stuff. I mean, I end up reading, me and Wes, we do our show on your Patreon and I review stuff, have all the stuff. And I actually leave the Absolute books for the last thing, knowing that they're going to be pretty decent, because there's still some crap. And that's the other thing about it when we're talking about the idea of getting more people in and, oh my God, these Absolute things are hot. And Dylan, I think, said, you got to get people involved in the regular stuff. But when you're bringing out stuff like Atom Project and, that garbage, if people
Question all along the Watchtower.
Yeah. Question all along the Watchtower, stuff like that. And even, as far as like Fire and Ice, stuff like that, you got to get people towards the deal of the big books. And I'm really glad they are putting the ads in for the Summer of Superman. And right now, like Dylan said as well, that the Joshua Williamson Superman's really good. And hopefully, when this all comes about and whatnot, Mark Waid can do something on Action, the Justice League and everything can work out. I know people don't love Mark Waid, but I just hope that once they end up doing so, I still think that in September they're going to renumber a bunch of things and give new number ones to a lot of things. Once Batman goes to the Matt Fraction number one, they're going to try to take advantage of that, but we'll see.
Well, remember that Mark Waid can't write superheroes because he doesn't believe in the goodness of humanity. So you're going to see his work suffer for it. Remember, he came out and he said that. What a dramatic little girl! Like, what a ridiculous thing to say. Like, at some point,
I can't enjoy superheroes, and Sully won't stop talking about Jeff Landshark. You kind of ruined it for me.
You know what's funny is I don't hate Jeff as a concept, but I just saw a cover the other day, and it was just somebody walking Jeff the Landshark down the street, and I was like, yeah, he's a cute character, but he kind of breaks the Marvel Universe by existing. Like, he makes the Marvel Universe less cool.
Like Grogu?
Like, he belongs in a Pokemon game. He belongs in like that kind of universe where, there's other things that are cute, and that's the aesthetic of the world. In Marvel, he just kind of like, it's LOL so random. It's for people who drew mustaches on their fingers and took pictures like that, on the Instagram, and thought that was really clever. That's what Jeff the Landshark is.
I better go read it then.
Yeah, he's the mustache drawn on the finger of comics.
Never thought about that analogy, but it really works. We used to have mustache march in the military, and there was like this one lady, and she would try to draw a mustache on there, and I just couldn't think, but like, why are you in the military? Like, get out of here. You're not a serious person.
Billy nonsense. Get out of here. Weston turned the hose on her. Get out of here. You don't belong here.
Stack up a bunch of bodies, thumbs up.
So, Jim, you're not looking forward to the PKJ Superman book, though.
No, I am. I think it'll be good. I just said that people went a little too over the top when I wanted more. So I'm actually, but I don't like the what's it called?
You said you hated the House of L.
No, I said that people overdid it when it was just a bunch of characters thrown out there. And I said I wanted more. So I said I like that, but the Orgrim stuff and that stuff I can go to the side with that. But again, it's if you like that, that'll be great. But I want it more developed. So I said I actually don't mind that it's coming back. I just thought people overhyped it when it came, when it was pretty much just, hey, a bunch of characters and you didn't get much with them.
There's a battle for like the mantle of Superman in the leadership position of the House of L. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's tons going on. There was a bunch of
he went out there and he slept with a bunch of aliens.
So you say. I mean, that's what it must have happened. But again, it was just like, look at this character, this character, this character. And you try to look at it and it's like, okay, that looks cool. But I want it more, and we'll get more. We'll see what it is.
I'm excited for that. I'm not excited for the Dan Slott Superman stuff. I don't understand why they won't remove Cy Spurrier from Flash. That would help out a lot. Flash should be like their number 3 character, not their number 8 character. You know what I mean?
Well, nobody in their right mind will give Cy Spurrier a number 3 character. So they will give him a number 3 character, let him run it down to number 8 so that somebody else can do it.
Just remember that they took Jeremy Adams off of the Flash to give it to Cy frickin' Spurrier.
But we got 3 Jeremy Adams books out of that.
But also remember,
oh my God, that's what
they were giving Green Lantern to Mariko Tamaki, and the only reason he got it was because she took another job.
That's great.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh,
I talked about that on my live stream last night. The idea that Jeremy Adams, without Mariko Tamaki leaving that book, might not be doing comics right now. He was really worried because he had no jobs lined up, and then suddenly things started steamrolling. And I did end up saying that everybody wants him back on Flash, but it's actually him getting kicked off of Flash that kind of got him as big as he is now. So
yeah.
I mean, sometimes these bad things work out for good.
I said, yeah.
Yeah, but those Flash sales were moving up. Like, I think it had gotten into the top 30 on that 1 minute.
That was already after they had fired him. That's the thing when he told me that he was done, and then it started going up, and they just already told Cy Spurrier that he's on it. They wanted to change the direction, and unfortunately, once they did announce it, it looked weird because the sales were going up, but it was legit. It was sales that it did it. He was upset because he said, I don't really have a name. And it's true. And also he got put into a position. I even blamed Tom King because of that Heroes in Crisis. A lot of Wally fans didn't want to jump on. They thought it was going to be another diss on Wally. I mean, Sully's right there. We begged Sully and he kept saying, no,
you got me reading it and you got me buying it monthly.
by the time that, and he said it, and he said it to a bunch of people, like places like here, and everybody, that people just kept pushing it, and finally people got onto it, but it was unfortunately too late for that Flash book. But then suddenly he said, I don't have anything going on, and then boom, he sent me a message like, I'm going to be doing Green Lantern. He almost turned it down, he said, because he was worried it was too big a thing, and then he just said, well, I'll do it. And then he got Flash Gordon and all that stuff, and now he's actually exclusive and is even on a book that seems to be like, hey, look, Jeremy Adams is involved. So Morgan Hampton, and like, that's how big he's become at DC. It's great. One guy Adams who deserves it.
Yeah, he's a guy that we need more of in comics.
Yeah.
He's actually talented and he's humble. He doesn't think that because a couple of people know his name at a convention that he's a celebrity.
And he's a nerd, right?
Yeah,
I bring
genuinely
up
he's so enthusiastic. He's so humble. The fact that he didn't think he was able to take on Green Lantern because he thought it was too big, that just shows you the humility that he has. But it's like that's who you need in the driver's seat of these things. These people that like actually care about the stuff, are humble enough to go, oh my gosh, I don't, like that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But when he goes in, he swings for the fences, and I'm loving the Green Lantern stuff right now. I'm loving Aquaman. He's got John Timms on art on Aquaman. It's gorgeous.
Did you see his video that he put out, Aaron?
Yeah, his video I was going to mention because
I did not.
The Trident sword. It's great. You tell us.
He made a video where he went to like Home Depot and like made out like his mock-up of what this new Trident sword that got debuted this week would be and how it would work. And he made a video to demonstrate it for the artists so they'd know how it worked. It's like the nerdiest thing you've ever seen in your life. I never would have put that out in public, but
No,
that's amazing. That makes me like him more.
For Aquaman.
That makes me like him more.
And that's the thing. You when you read his books, it actually translates 100 to 100. The deal that he loves comics and is excited about it. So his books are exciting and you love them. It ends up working out where a guy is just, loves the thing. And just as a throw it out there again, he says that his best book that he has a big pitch for is Wonder Woman. He really wants to write Wonder Woman, says he has this pitch. Cool. And they ended up saying, no, we can't because of the optics and things, and then hired Tom King. So
we gotta let Tom King ruin the character, and we can't have you showing up Tom King because we still pretend like he's a big deal.
Well, that'd be a good time for him because he fixed Wally West after Tom King ruined him. He went out there and fixed Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps after Jeff Thorne ruined it, and now he can fix up
Tom King's damage control.
I wonder if there's not resistance to Jeremy Adams within certain elements of DC Comics because fans like us like his work.
Maybe. I know that there's a lot of people who claim that he stole the Green Lantern from Mariko Tamaki and say they'll never read anything Jeremy Adams, which is ridiculous. But
the idea that anybody was like, I was really looking forward to Mariko Tamaki.
I thought you were just going to say they should treat him as a hero.
We were robbed.
Yeah.
I've changed my mind on Adams. I'm going to burn all of his books now.
5 less things eaten and talked about in an issue.
So I guess
really
we could...
kind of looking forward to which Green Lanterns like which desserts.
Exactly.
I would love to see at this point what Jeremy Adams would do with the DC Crisis story. Because he's the kind of writer that's got a command of the characters, their voices, and the imagination to pull off something nice and big. I would love to see that.
I love Jeremy Adams. I don't know that he's ready for an event. That might be a little too big, and you might get like a Jed McKay situation.
Well, that's how you break a writer too. Is you just give them too much to do.
Yeah.
And I think that a couple books a month. That's probably where he's comfortable. He can deliver the high. Just you don't want to push the guy past his ability to deliver the best quality on each project he's working on. So don't give him too much all at once. But I think he's great, and I think that this is the difference between hiring people who in their lives are miserable and then put their misery into the books. You hire somebody who genuinely loves his life, loves what he's doing, loves waking up every day and getting to work in comics, and it comes through in the work.
Yeah. And I love the idea. There's a lot of these writers like a Ram V and things like that you sit there and say, oh, they're good at these side characters and things like that. Jeremy Adams, he's probably good at everything because he just loves comics. So that's pretty good.
Well, let's move on to the big Marvel news this week. They did have a big debut. Amazing Spider-Man relaunch with the #1 Joe Kelly, mostly Pepe the Rams, but also We get some John Romita Jr. in there. Sparrow, it looks like you were not a fan of Brand New Day Volume 2.
No, I think that we may be faced with the fact that the Joe Kelly that we once knew and loved is no longer with us. None of the jokes in this book land. None of the character work, like the conversations between the characters, is all very forced and not funny. And it doesn't sound like the way anybody actually talks. There is such a cringe section of the book, not only writing wise, but art wise, where the characters are together, like on a date, and Peter's on probation. And it's like, just like, yeah, Peter, enjoy being cucked. It's what they've been doing to you for, almost 20 years now. Just keep, she's like, oh, well, we're not exclusive. So, and he's all excited about, oh, I'm on probation. That's good, right? Yeah, it's great. Your girlfriend's banging other guys. Good. Yeah. You're doing great, Peter. And all the faces are drawn incredibly stupid. Like all the reactions are like way over the top. It just looks like Mark Waid's Archie, but if you like added 20% more gay. That's how every character expression looks. Everybody's just like flamboyantly like, it was so painful to read. The scene between him and the scene between him and Aunt May in the apartment where he's like, I like being a loser because I get to hang out with my favorite girl. And for some reason, Aunt May's got this weird shine on her hair. Like everything creatively in this book is a weird decision. And I found myself not able to get into the story because it wasn't particularly compelling. Some of the dialogue you had to read 2 or 3 times. Max pointed it out last night on his comic stream. There was especially one line of dialogue where it's like, wow, there's no editors on this book, is there? Because you have to read the line 4 or 5 times before it makes sense. And again, it's just one of those things where it's like, none of this is how an actual person would talk. So I think that this relaunch is already, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. There's no excitement behind this book because, Jim, I think I was watching one of your videos and you pointed out that we already had Joe Kelly on 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, which wasn't good. So then launching a new #1, there's no mystery
factor.
Hype
of mystery.
Yeah, there's no hype or like, what's this new creative team going to do? Because you've already seen for several issues what they're going to do and kind of what they're going to deliver. And this is just a in a month where we got the Harley Quinn fartacular, this is probably the biggest wet fart out of comics this month.
You should read Fire and Ice. It's worse, I promise you.
Well, nobody expected that to be good. Like nobody, like that. You're going into that, you know what you're getting. You're getting Joanne Starr. You know what? So since she's a fart fetishist, can we just start saying Joanne Starfish?
Maybe. So Dylan, you're more of a DC guy, but you decided to do the homework, go out there and read ASM #1. Are you putting on the pull list? Were you impressed? Did you have a different opinion?
No, this didn't make me want to pick it up. It is weird to whenever they do a new #1 with the same writer from the previous run, so that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I thought the Spider-Man stuff was okay, just the Peter Parker stuff was terrible. Like the Spider-Man stuff was fine. It looked fun. Like the action was cool. I liked
the art was good on that. I'll
the Rhino fight.
Yeah, the Rhino fight. Like that stuff was like, I was like, all right, this is fine. It's just the Peter Parker stuff was so bad. Him just being cucked and like smiling about it, being all happy, and then like that whole interaction was so like weird. We were talking earlier about like Jeff Landstar like quirkiness. That's what that interaction was. Where like there's some weird sort of like slapstick, like people are falling over, and it's just
the bar scene.
Yeah,
It was like out of Big Bang Theory. It totally was.
And I didn't really understand what they were talking about. It was so just weird, and I don't know why it was in a Spider-Man book. And again, it also felt like Peter was like 19 in this, but it isn't like 30 or something.
He's pushing 30 if he's not already there. Sliding timeline, yo.
It felt odd and weird to being like a 30-year-old Peter doing all of this stuff. Just not good.
In the interview, everybody like crowding around to laugh at him during the interview, like his job interview. Like I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
The guy was a billionaire at one point. Like, Jim made a point in his video about like, hey, if they're gonna laugh at you, just go, hey, who's your biggest competitor? Because I'm going over there and I'm gonna make them a bunch of money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's directly from your video. I agree with you.
Who is the one that is your? I'm going right there and I'm gonna bury your asshole deal. It was ridiculous.
Gonna bury your asshole, huh?
I'll bury it in your asshole.
I'll bury your asshole right now.
Oh, that's great. That's a great put that.
Bury your asshole.
I'll bury your asshole right now.
I hope nobody watches this show with their kids.
Yeah. AL's gonna say something. I'm putting on headphones now.
I like
Sorry, AL.
Oh man,
Doc, since you don't even like Pepe Larraz, you probably hated the book. Huh?
Again, I don't dislike Pepe Larraz. I don't dislike RB Silva because I don't dislike Stuart Immonen. If I disliked Stuart Immonen, I dislike his clones. I just wish they both had original styles instead of just.
You totally fucked me on the review yesterday, Doc.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk about RV Silva, or I'm sorry, Pepe Larraz, and I mixed them up because of you.
Yeah, because they're artistically indistinguishable from each other. Yeah. All three of them. Honestly, it's kind of like looking at Nick Bradshaw right now and Art Adams. I can't tell the difference between current Art Adams art and current Nick Bradshaw art. They are the exact same artists these days. And that's I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that they are exactly the same artist. They are artistically indistinguishable from one another. And if you're gonna go, I mean, you look at a lot of like the Top Cow stuff in the late 90s. You look at a lot of the Extreme Studios stuff. Everybody was aping their mentor. And that's fine. But when you're the big deal, when you're the guy on Marvel's flagship book, I would kind of expect you to have an original style.
You know what, though? That being said, Doc, I will take a clone. I will take a clone of Art Adams any day of the week at this point. I'll take 100 clones of Art Adams, 100 clones of Joe Mad, 100 clones of Mark Silvestri, as opposed to what we're getting. But yeah, I don't enjoy, except for the Spider-Man stuff, which Dylan pointed out is good. I did not enjoy any of the actual human stuff in here, and you have to be able to do both. And granted, the artist made the characters look as bad as the dialogue that they were saying. So, I mean, I guess kudos for that, but it just made for a miserable reading experience.
But Randy had lines etched in his head. I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's great. Randy's a great character. Can't wait to see more of him.
Well, that's going to be a running joke, him and that online dating, I'm sure.
Oh. So this was the drunk girl that he swiped right on. What's next?
You know,
like an activist or something.
The last time somebody did like a good bit about like a guy on Tinder, and it was in the Fast and the Furious, where Han signs up for a Tinder after he comes back to life, and it literally like in 5 minutes he's basically like a woman that signs up for Tinder, where suddenly he's already got like 99 likes in like 5 minutes because he's Han, and he's fucking awesome. Dude.
How old is Joe Kelly?
Joe's got to be in his mid 50s to
early 60s.
Does he know a lot about the Tinder culture there?
No.
I'm going to go with probably not.
53 years old.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he's a little younger than I expected.
So he's a little bit older than me. I've never been on Tinder. I'm not going to try to work it into the book. You know, like if you don't know, don't try to do it. Like it doesn't read right.
In fairness, he's probably got at least a handful of friends that have told them their Tinder experiences, and he's just writing from that.
Oh, see, well, that's
all right, Dylan. He's explain to Aaron how Tinder works in your experiences.
You swipe right forever, and nobody ever swipes right on you.
Is that it?
You spend money on microtransactions and never get anything out of it.
Grindr.
Oh, it's like buying a game from EA.
You do better here. Tinder would work better if it just hooked you up with hookers. You'd have more satisfied male customers.
That's called.
Well, Craigslist. I mean, isn't that what it does?
Well,
it's out there too. You got to watch.
Yeah, but they're like half the time it's indirect hookers. Also, a lot of them are just.
All right, Doc. I'm going to hold you up here. Could you please explain to me what an indirect hooker is?
Oh, they're the girls that'll definitely sleep with you. You just have to buy them a drink and dinner first.
Well, that's not an indirect hooker, Doc.
No, because they're not going to date you. They're not going to date you. They're just going to let you feed them and then fuck you.
Mm.
And they'll probably
Can you kiss an indirect hooker on the mouth?
I don't know, to be honest.
Oh, can
you
bury their ass?
but the chances of sores is high.
Also, wonderful way to go from cold sore to herpes.
Let's
the gift.
Also, you're also every single one of them has an OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Any big thoughts on this one, Sully? I know you enjoyed Amazing Spider-Man more than the rest of us.
Probably, but I didn't enjoy it quite enough at all either. It was all set up in status quo. It did absolutely nothing. It was a poor issue number 1. And then I guess, it's going to come back to one of my stupid gripes about the sound effects, especially in the John Romita Jr. parts. At the end of it, there are 2 parts. There's a Norman Osborn part, and then there's meanwhile out in the desert, something, the building the mystery part. And it's so obvious that the sound effects are just dropped and dragged on top of Johnny's art. And it's so obvious because it's so incongruent with the art style. And I just like, look at this. Just like, give me Nick Klein any day. Or Johnny, can you draw a thump in your panel, please? It will just look so much better. And I'm a big fan. I'm rooting for John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna. That wasn't their best art. And the Pepe Larraz stuff, I mean, that seems to be the Marvel house style. That those faces, those kind of like background speed lines, garish colors, Pepe Larraz.
I got a question for you, Sully.
Yeah,
there's a moment Kingsley is talking to what appears to be an apparition or some type of demon that's speaking back to him, but in the end, he's looking at the Hobgoblin suit with his face in it. My interpretation is that demon is like his golem or whatever, like his other side of him. Do you think that is a separate entity, or is that inside of it?
That might. See, there we go. That he might. I think it might be inside of him. It's like it's kind of like what Norman would struggle with the Green Goblin.
That's the way I took it.
Roderick Kingsley struggling with his Hobgoblin, and but it's all set up. It's all status quo.
No, but God damn it, answer me the question. It's another entity, or is it Kingsley talking to himself?
I think it's Kingsley talking to himself. I think it's Kingsley. It's all right.
Negative.
Sparrow who is it?
Wait, what's the question? I was keeping up on the chat.
Oh my goodness!
Come on, is Kingsley talking to himself, or is there another demon entity with him?
Who cares? That's my answer.
Say it's another entity.
I'm not invested. I think it's another entity because that's inherently probably more interesting. Yeah. And if it's not another entity, then
I can kind of see that.
Really, he could have been talking to himself, looking, and then look at the reflection, see the Hobgoblin, and then you'd get that same effect. Why have it that he has to pull the shades, have this other entity, and then it seems like the other entity even goes to mess with
how many Hobgoblins have there been? About 3? And then,
Roderick is the one true Hobgoblin.
Yeah, correct. But maybe it could retcon something such as this is the spirit of the Hobgoblin, and it's gone into other hosts.
It's the spirit of Jason Masondale talking to him.
All right, Dylan, did you think he was talking to himself, or is there something else like a demon with it?
I think there's a separate entity. That's what I got from it, but who knows? And I don't really care. I'm not going to stick around to find out.
No. Is Doc sticking around? You were excited about Joe Kelly.
Well, I'll pick up a couple issues. It didn't bug me enough that I don't want to. That I'm not going to give it a second issue try. It seemed like a relatively formulaic paint by numbers first issue. Not terribly exciting, not terribly bland. It just was. The action looked pretty good. I don't know if I necessarily give a damn about whatever's happening to Rhino or anything like that. I'm a little perplexed by the whole him needing a job and with his inability to get a job, or why no one has tried doing Peter Parker as his own science consulting firm. Like, something that does, why they keep trying to do the Peter Parker can't have a 9-to-5 because Spider-Man gets in the way. Fine. He's smart enough that by now he should have figured out a way to make a steady income at 30 years old, because he got his powers at 15. We have a 15-year sliding timeline now. 15 or 16 years, unclear exactly which one it exactly is. So he's 30 or 31. And so now that he's definitely 30, and him being as smart as he is, he would have found some sort of life hack to figure out how to make a steady, adult income stream.
Start his own consulting firm. OnlyFans. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he could sell, even if he was just like, I'm going to do the photography thing as a career. He would be a competent enough photographer by now that he could be selling and licensing these photos of Spider-Man out to all of the major papers, all of the magazines, everything. Fucking TMZ would be buying them for thousands of dollars.
He had a book tour. He had a whole book of Spider-Man photos, and he had a book tour. Like, he could capitalize on that. He could just do consulting. He could, take some variation of the Spider-Man webbing and create a polymer and patent it, and then live on that Shad Khan money, and eventually have a useless son that he gives a wrestling company to. There's all kinds of things that you could do. But they can't move the status quo forward because they don't know what to do once they do that. They always feel like they have to reset, and they always have to reset back to him being a teenager because they think that that's the sweet spot. But it's not. Spider-Man was an adult man much longer than he was, and he was married for a long period of time, and it was well done, and we liked it. But they keep trying to go back and reinvent the wheel, but they're not talented enough to do it. There's no new stories to be told there.
Yeah. So, do I think that it's like a lot of the Peter Parker story here is kind of dumb? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I'm willing to give it a couple of issues to see if, I don't know, maybe somebody gets creative and does something new, or if Nick Lowe is just telling Joe Kelly what to write, and Joe Kelly's like, fuck it, it's something to do. I'll just execute whatever you tell me to do, and I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I got the idea when I read it. It was just the idea that Nick Lowe and everybody involved at Marvel just doesn't think that Spider-Man needs to be good. Like, they think it's so good already. Oh man, everybody loves it already. We'll just mail this one in. We'll start it off. And it didn't feel like it had any sort of, idea that we better do something to get people excited and get back onto it. It just felt kind of lame.
It didn't feel like that fire lit underneath their ass.
Yeah, no fire under their ass at all.
It's completely written for the trade. So this is just the first opening of here's the opening of your trade paperback. It's not really a good solid floppy.
Yeah, it felt like, they buy it anyway.
It's going to sell no matter what. So you might as well hire Zeb Wells, because who cares?
And here's the thing. I remember reading the first issue or two of Nick Spencer's run, and it had a very similarly formulaic opening, and
you had like clone stuff again in that opening, and there was weird stuff. It did feel like that. You're right.
Yeah. So it reminded me, and that turned out to be a pretty good run. It just didn't open with a bang. And this one, I mean, Joe Kelly is he's much better than Zeb Wells. He has a much better track record than Zeb Wells. So am I going to give him the opportunity, at least that I gave Zeb Wells, which was about 10 issues? Yes, I am.
And this ASM #1 has, no lie, 40 variant covers.
Of course. In fairness, ASM 666 had 666 variants.
And it opened up the portal to hell that we were all currently reading Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some books that we all want to recommend and start wrapping this bad boy up. So Daddy does need to get to his chicken nuggies. Dylan, thank you very much for returning to the show, talking about some comic books here. DC had a good week. We kind of talked about it in the beginning, but are there any books that you definitely want to recommend this week?
Yeah, I'd say Batman Robin number 20 continues to be great. I really enjoyed this issue. Batman Dark Patterns number 5, best issue of the series so far. It just keeps getting better. Really enjoyed it. Absolute Batman number 7. It's a bit of a step back because we don't have Dragotta on art, but still, I'd say it's good. Aquaman number 4, really good. Really liked what we got in Aquaman number 4. Incredible Hulk number 24. I haven't really been enjoying it lately, but I thought this was a better issue than most, and it's pretty good. We got a different fill-in artist this time, which kind of matches Nick Klein's art a little better. And it was a fun issue. I liked it. And then the Jinx Silent issue. So, yeah, those are my recommendations for this week. Pretty good week.
Absolutely. And you are the big UFC fan. Is UFC 314 worth it?
It's hard to say any pay-per-view is worth it because it's so expensive. It's like $100, but I'd say it's worth the time to find a site to pirate it. I would say that. I'd say it's worth the time
or
to
go to
and
Buffalo
find.
Wild Wings.
There you go. Or going to a bar or something and getting it because you can do it that way. I'd say it's worth watching, but I wouldn't necessarily it's worth buying because it's pay-per-views are ridiculous.
Is Twin Peaks like a national thing now?
I think I think Twin Peaks is filing for bankruptcy.
Well, there you go. I thought that was like
but like Buffalo Wild Wings
Hooters.
has it.
But
yeah,
but there's some interesting fighters on there.
Yeah,
but there's no like great huge fight.
Lopez versus Volt could be really good, but it just depends if Volt can bounce back after getting murdered in his last fight because he is like 34, 35, and he was amazing, and then he got just destroyed in his last fight, and that hasn't really happened to him before, so we'll see how he bounces back. That could be a really good fight. But yeah, other than that, it's like a lot of good fights, but nothing that's truly amazing. A lot of interesting stuff, though.
Now, on your YouTube, your podcast, and your streaming, is there anything people should be looking out for that you got coming up maybe in the next week, or something that you did recently that they should definitely see?
Yeah, I'm always working on stuff, but I just posted a video on Captain America and talking about what JMS did on him and the state that he's currently in leading into Zarski's run. So check that out.
Well, very nice. Really appreciate it, brother. We've also got returning to the champion in grand fashion, Jim from Weird Science. Are you recommending any books?
Yeah, but first I thought Dylan said Cats in America. At first I was like, oh, look at that. Yeah, Aquaman number 4, Green Lantern Corps number 3, and in a surprise deal for me, Daredevil number 20 are my recommendations for the week.
Very nice. And would you recommend people go check out that live stream with you and Gray?
Probably not. It's very long, but they can. And I'll have a couple other books. I'm probably going to do a short review of The Incredible Hulk sometime either today or tomorrow, and then add the podcast.
But you are anti what Dylan said. You are not enjoying Incredible Hulk at all.
I'm kind of bored with this thing, but I even said when we did it for the podcast that I was waiting for this Charlie stuff to end to kind of get something different, but I don't think it will. I think this will be like the full deal. So I'm kind of down with that. I just thought that there's some things missing in the issue this week of like, how did they defeat Clea? How did they get in the Sanctum?
That should have been the cliffhanger of the last issue.
You just have to end up kind of just thinking, okay, they're demons and all that, they can do it. But I would have liked to have seen that. I thought that would have been cool because I do like Clea a lot, and she's just I don't even know what's going on with her right now. So yeah, that was kind of a weird deal, but the issue's okay, and I do like how they trick Banner and then how Hulk comes back. It's kind of a cool play.
You got any dirty songs people should be looking out for?
Nah, well, I would have, but I did end up where I had one that was going to release today. And while we were recording, I went to check out some things and realized that it had been flagged before it came out.
It's so too explicit.
I had to take that down. I don't know why. I can't even.
Too dirty.
I can't even say the title of it because I don't want you to get. But
I don't want you to demonetize.
Seem it when too dirty. It was just a female power song telling guys they had to do a certain thing themselves from now on. I thought it was okay, but yeah, something got it, and so I have to figure out. I have a bunch in the wings. I have like 6 or 7 songs that I have to release, but I did just put out a dirty Easter song. that people can go check out when I realized that Keister rhymes with Easter. So that was
very nice. Have you released that Dylan diss track yet, Jim?
No, I have not. That villain Dylan. No, it's not out yet. I'm working on it.
I'm just looking forward to hearing more about the Keister Bunny.
Yes. Once I'm telling you, I was like, I got to come up with something. Then I was walking my dog, and for some reason, I went old timey. I'm like, move your Keister, and I ran home.
It's like listening to Stan Lee describe the first when he came up with Spider-Man as a concept.
It just a light bulb just went off, and my world became brighter. So yeah, there's that, and a couple of the songs actually are picking up, and I do hope by the end of the month I'll be at 50,000 subscribers. That's the goal for that channel. And on the comic side, I hope that 3 people watch the videos. But boy, the dirty songs. There you go.
Definitely glad to have you back, Jim. We definitely missed you. We've also got Sully in the house. Are you recommending any comic books?
Hello. Yes. I was, along with Jim, I'll recommend Daredevil 20. It was really good. It's very Bronze Agey to me. They got a penciler and an inker, and that really comes through the panels. Side boob. Great. Yeah, side boob. We've got great art, great fight scenes, the return of the black armor, and it was just a simple Daredevil story. Solomon Ahmed's just done 19 issues in a row for introductory rights. And so now it's just a fresh story, and I'm really into that, and that's great. Also, Geiger 13 was amazing. Don't let Geiger fall under your radar. But I've got 6 floppies, 6 funny books that I got from my local funny book bodega, my LCS, my local comic book shop. These are all on my pull list. Transformers 19, which is a disappointment. We have an art change. Lugo Lullaby, and he really put me to sleep. I really didn't.
Oh, he's usually really good.
It's good,
maybe
but
rush job, maybe.
It's Megatron's round eyes of amazement of that he's in this situation, this never-ending nightmare that's beyond his control. And I think I'm not reading Void Rivals, so I think this has some connective tissue to Void Rivals. So. But it wasn't my favorite issue of Transformers. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, the Jinx issue was pretty darn good. I got every issue of Real American Hero since Skybound restarted it. Green Lantern Corps, number 3 by Jeremy Adams and Company. Really fun, really good. Great use of characters, great character voices, really decent art, good fight scenes. Don't let this fly under your radar. Along with Aquaman number 4, this gets better and better every issue. The art is pretty good. And there's another mystery because we had this Omega that was this portal to this other blue world. But then like Arion, the magician, there's a lambda, which is another Greek letter. And I'm like, oh, what's this? That's another portal. So there's a mystery going on. And I'm liking that. I got Vatican City by Mark Miller and Pierre Berg. We had Pierre Berg on last week talking about this book. I like this. It's like Mark heard that Marvel was doing Blood Hunt, and he said, "Here, Marvel, hold my beer." And I'm gonna do my vampire story. And my pick of the week is Incredible Hulk number 24, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Great art by Kev Walker. Now, Kev Walker's been a little bit hit or miss recently. 2 things he's done recently that were good was Guardians of the Galaxy with Lansing and Kelly, and that Blood Hunt tie-in, the Union Jack one. I thought that was a really good use of his pencils. But he also did a couple of other things that just weren't too good. But this is pretty good, and got every issue, and they're all on my pull list. And thank you once again for having me on. The best Saturday morning cartoons you're going to have all week long.
Definitely appreciate it, Sully. And in the spirit of Sully, I've realized this week how much I have to be grateful for. I have an amazing family, and I have a great group of friends that have been doing me a lot of favors behind the scenes, and I really appreciate it, guys.
Be blessed, be grateful. I do a lot of content about gratitude. It's really helped my life. And that's my big thing on my channel lately. I'm trying to put myself over 2,000 subscribers. So if any of the thousands of subscribers that tune into this channel, tune into mine and give me a subscribe. I would love it. And you'll love it too. And thank you guys for having me on.
We've also got Aaron Sparrow. Are you recommending any funny books this week?
I actually also went to my local funny book bodega, my LCS, and picked up some books. I left Vatican City and Geiger in the other room, but those have already been recommended, so we're good there. You're going to see some repeat recommendations here. I picked up Jeremy Adams. Oh, look, it doesn't do it. Green Lantern Corps. So I picked that up. Got some great stuff in here. If you love the Red Lanterns, if you love, some of the other cores that you see, this is a great book to be picking up. It's got really great art. The story by Jeremy Adams is kicking. I recommend it. I picked up Jinx. Actually really liked this. I think this was stronger than the Beachhead issue. I thought it read better. You could tell what was going on. We discussed that earlier in the show. Another Jeremy Adams book. I'm picking up Aquaman right now. So there's Aquaman number 4. Beautiful art by John Timms. And again, great story going with Jeremy Adams. And then the one that nobody mentioned this week that I picked up, Final Fight number 4 from Udon. This has got beautiful Matthew Weldon art. It tells the story of the video game. This is the finale. Matt Weldon did a really interesting, Matt Moylan did a really interesting thing because when we got to the end of issue 3, it was basically the ending of the first game. And I was like, oh, they're going out the window with Belger. I mean, that's pretty much the end of the game. What's he going to do? Like, you can't do like a whole, I guess you could try, but you can't do a whole issue of them falling and fighting. That's not going to be interesting. Well, he quickly gets that out of the way. And then he brings together the entire Mad Gear gang and every character from every Final Fight that fought on the side of the heroes and puts them together in a big brawl. So you get stuff like this great splash page here. Because I got the virtual background, it trips out. But check it out. It is gorgeous. It's a lot of fun. And apparently you can wear hot pants and a tube top as a cop in Metro City. That's what Lucia wears. So it's a fun universe and it's a fun book. Also, I want to give a shout out. Didn't come out this week, but I always forget to mention it. Go check out Power Lords. It's being drawn by Ken Marion, and man, it looks great.
Absolutely. And do you have any scheduled appearances this week that people will want to know about?
I will be in Vegas on Wednesday at the Millennium Fandom Bar with Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers. I'll be hanging out and having some fun and meeting people. So if you are in Vegas, come on out. I know that another YouTuber, Master Swag King, whose channel I've been on, he's coming out. Should be a nice little meetup. So if you're able to make it out to Vegas, come see us.
Very, very cool. Last but not least, Doc, I spared your feelings. You did not have to read the freaking Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice.
Are you going to recommend anything this week?
I am. Well, I'm going to recommend Vatican City. You know what? I read Vatican City. It was excellent. I did not yet. I flipped through ASM. We talked about it. And I didn't read G.I. Joe yet. But that's like 2 weeks old, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So instead, since Aaron is here, I'm gonna recommend. You know what? I really like a lot of the figures out of this Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave. This Ultimate Wolverine, so much better than the actual comic book Ultimate Wolverine now.
Incredibly.
And
that's nice.
It is one of my favorite Wolverine sculpts that they've done because he actually looks fucking jacked. Now, they got the head wrong. Because Ultimate Wolverine had just slightly long sideburns and that like pointy just chin goatee.
The flavor saver.
Yeah, he didn't have the mutton chops. This is 616 Logan.
Well, they wanted it to sell, Doc.
Yeah, I know. Like this is 616 Logan, not Ultimate Universe Wolverine. So fine, all right. But the body sculpt is fucking dope. And he looks jacked. Unlike a lot of the other ones that look fucking skinny.
I can't remember. Did you pick up Marrow from that series yet?
I did not. I actually did just get one that Wes will appreciate.
Yeah.
I got
Very
the
nice.
X-Force, Uncanny X-Force Nightcrawler from the Age of Apocalypse storyline after he gets in this universe, he had the Crimson Dawn. So that's why he's got the red thing on his eye. So, but yeah, I picked that up too, also from that series. You know what? I've been looking and I'm like, I want the Marrow. I think I almost want the Husk. I already got the Cyclops. Oh, fuck it. Maybe I'll just buy the whole line.
Yeah, just build the Nemesis. By the way, in the chat, It has been pointed out by Methinks995 that that's not the Ultimate Wolverine. It's Wolverine from the last Extreme X-Men miniseries, and he is right. I just realized that he's absolutely right.
Oh,
they kind of like pulled from the Extreme design. Yeah. Okay,
well then that makes sense. I didn't bother to actually. Oh yeah, it is. Shit, I didn't bother to read the back
was
of it.
Wrong.
Hey, I'm fine with it. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Yeah, with a group of Extreme X-Men. Okay, cool. I mean, granted, it literally is the Ultimate Wolverine costume, but sure, whatever.
Oh, I thought when you were wrong, you could admit it.
I am. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I was wrong. I admit. I don't see how I didn't just admit that.
Yeah, well, you made excuses for yourself.
Because I didn't read the back. He's literally wearing the Ultimate Universe costume, and I just thought they got the head wrong. Because they would do that randomly.
As soon as Methinks pointed it out, it flashed like I saw covers by Salvador Larroca in my head, and I was like, "Yeah, oh yeah, he's right."
Because they did this occasionally, like, and even during 616 Marvel, they'd fuck up and do Ultimate Wolverine's face, because there was a Quitely issue during the Rioted Xavier storyline where he inexplicably didn't have the mutton chops anymore, just had the long sideburns and the flavor saver goatee. And I was like, when the hell did Ultimate Wolverine come to the 616? And then the next month, it was back to the normal look. And they did the same thing on a couple issues of Ultimate X-Men around the same time. So
tried some different looks, bub.
But so this is a series that I still recommend. You could probably pick it up out of dollar bins. It's an 18-issue miniseries by Brian Augustine and Humberto Ramos. This is the series that Ramos did right after he did Crimson for Cliffhanger Comics. Crimson, Ramos's stuff was the only stuff that came out in anything approaching a regular timeline for Cliffhanger, because that's also the company. Well, I guess Aerosmith too, but that's where Danger Girl and Battle Chasers also were. But yeah, good fun series. Bunch of high school kids against fucking demons and little demonic elves. So it's fun. It's a good series. I think somebody was watching Buffy around that time. Kind of a combination of Buffy and there was some other vibe I got from it. Oh, The Faculty. If anybody remembers that movie. Then ASM. The Maximum Carnage series is good fun. Go find it. The original Maximum Carnage. And the Bagley ASM art. I know Yule would be pissed. But I really like, Bagley doing Venom and Carnage. And then finally, we will go with, this was actually one of the first pre-reboot books that I had bought. I found it at a estate sale and then got it slabbed, and it ended up being an 8.0. So on X-Men 45, God, I don't even remember what year this would have been. Old, very old. Like 67, probably 66. So those are my recommendations for this week.
Huh. I totally screwed something up there. But thank you very much. Really appreciate that. It's time to get to dinner. I hope everyone's going to have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the UFC if that's your thing. Enjoy some baseball if that's your thing. But definitely enjoy the comic books, because that's all of our thing. And I will see you all around.